Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a what seems to be a pretty volatile Asian into European session. Obviously, a lot to talk about. And welcome to everyone out there. We are looking at 2% down in the Nasdaq coming into market open. We haven't even seen non-farms, which is in an hour. So pretty much we have a lot of potential volatility coming into today. And what will we see? Well, time will tell, but we'll be having a look at the charts together. Quick shout out to a whole bunch of people out there. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Benny Hanna, I think. Pa, good to see you. Golden Ratio. Siddharth, as always, good to see you here. Same with you, Johnny and Shane. Buzzblads, good to see you. Warwick, I know who you are. Very good to see you're up and ready for this stream tonight. And of course, Hemivol, good to see you. Costco Shopping, Usin Vision, as always. Farid, congratulations as well to Farid. He won and he was the winner of the $540 prize. So well done there. And a whole bunch of people coming in. Marlene, RC, Joe, lots of people from the Discord community and obviously from the YouTube community in general. So great to see everyone out. I won't say hello, can continue, otherwise we'll probably go to about 100 people. But basically, what are we seeing today? Well, we are seeing a bloodbath potentially, but that doesn't mean that we're going to necessarily see sustained selling. So we'll talk about the technicals in only a few minutes, but I think that a lot of these events, they're great for volatility, but they're great for opportunity, aren't they? They're always that thing where when you see this, we have to think, well, what's the worst case scenario from this? Is the worst case scenario, going to form the markets going down even further? Or is this just an opportunity for a short-term kind of sell-off? And it's probably more short-term sell-off. Obviously, there's eventual things that could happen that could cause further sell-offs, but it's always like a risk-reward kind of thing in the markets. So we've seen a bit of US dollar strength in the last kind of 24 hours. We actually already saw that picking up. We'll talk about that. VIX is obviously spiking at 32.50. And overall, that's pretty good to see. I mean, obviously, we've been looking at some bearish action and we always want to get better buy dips. Overall, we're very optimistic on the markets, but we do want to get better buy dips. So VIX moving there is interesting. General broader market, silver still struggling. Dr. Copper, we'll be talking about Dr. Copper. Dr. Copper got absolutely obliterated yesterday. You can see on this chart here. Let's just quickly click in on this. Did it know that Trump had, and I can't use the word because YouTube censor it, but we'll call it the virus, because basically Dr. Copper got obliterated yesterday in trade. And it's starting to recover a little bit here, but we'll talk about the technicals of that, what's causing it, potentially what it means. But yeah, Dr. Copper did not do well. It did not have a good day. Over into the Forex markets quickly, crude, gold, BTC. So crude really also getting bashed around. This is hurting Exxon. I actually want to talk about the crude market in general. I think some of the stocks are becoming interesting levels. We've got heavy support levels being reintroduced. Obviously, potential decent income over the long term as well in these things. So are we getting into value town for crude? We'll talk about that. BTC getting hit a little bit. Still relatively strong if it comes down to the 10K. So will that happen even in today's trades? Very possible for BTC. And generally around the markets, Euro hit a very nice technical. So we'll have a look at that one as well, because there's quite a lot of currency traders in the community. Remember, throughout to today's stream, ask as many questions as possible, because if you have a question, most likely another 100 or 200 people viewing right now will have an answer or have some kind of question around that as well. Always helps out. Rockman Forever says, bad morning if you are long. Well, it depends how you're looking at it, Rockman. If you're trading long and you've got leverage, then yeah, it's not good. So we're all, of course, here to talk about this diagnosed virus in terms of Trump. We know, of course, that equities went down and generally all markets move when things like this happened. We have to also remember when Boris in the UK got it, what happened as well. I saw some discussion in the community before this, and they mentioned that the first week, nothing happened. As in, Boris was pretty happy. He was, feeling great. Then about after 1 week, I think it was, all of a sudden there was that hospitalization, which if it happened to Trump and he went to hospital, I think you'd see a second shock into the markets. So just remember, there is a chance that it goes further if that happens. All right. A couple other things coming in here in terms, no crash says par, but dip. Yeah, absolutely. All crypto markets down. Well, that's actually an interesting one. Let's just quickly bring up CoinMarketCap, have a look at the crypto markets and see how they're moving. So overall, a mixture of ups and downs. Overall, of course, more downs than up. There's quite a lot of negative looking 7-day charts here as well that have been going into the crypto. So let's just quickly begin by talking about US 500 futures. Obviously, a lot of people on this channel, we watch S&P 500 futures. We'll load them up right now and we'll take a look at some technical levels and where things happened. So 3,400 was under pressure yesterday. I think the Nasdaq was showing the stronger area. We mentioned in the Thursday video, didn't we, that 11.6 was the zone that we thought the Nasdaq could possibly get to, and the bears would potentially start to get in control at that area. They did start to push it down, and at this point we also had that 3,400 on the S&P. So let's just jump into the 4-hour here on the S&P. Talk about the key levels that we're seeing ahead of the market. So we are right at the key level. The market knows ahead of news where it wants to be. It always moves to key levels ahead of news. So originally, I think the plan was for the market to be testing and bull kind of testing around the 3,400 into the non-farm payrolls at 10:30 my time tonight. Now, what's happened since then is obviously Trump got the virus, the market started to sell off, and it went straight to the 33.30 zone. Now, why is that important? Well, let's take a look at the SPX. I want to take a look at the SPX. Now, if you're not doing this and you're new to the channel or you haven't actually looked at the real market that much, let's consider not the futures, but the real market and the SPX at the 33.30. Why is this a key zone? We have not seen on the real market a break under this level. We have 33.30-ish supports twice over here. We can go down to like a 2-hour, 1-hour chart to make it a little bit more clear. Supports, resistances, moving averages, everything that's all around here. And all of a sudden we're putting pressure here. We get under this zone. I've said it a few times, there's a good chance that it does something like this and moves back down into the previous dip where no doubt there will be some buying pressure. So a whole bunch of things with the SPX is we are testing the key level ahead of pre-market and also ahead of non-farm payrolls generally. Pretty common for it to do this. This is a very common thing that we see in the markets. They test either a support or resistance ahead generally of news. All right, let's go to some of the questions that we've got on here. Reese says, hey buddy, I've got a long on Nasdaq. What's your opinion on it? Depends what your time frame is, Reese. If your time frame is that you want to trade it and you basically are looking at only a few days in it, then it could have further downside pressure. But if your time frame is you're going to hold it for 6-12 months, you'll be fine, I'm sure. C. Halcyon says, should we buy the dip or wait on the sidelines? Well, I think the dip's going to open right on support. So we're probably going to see the non-farm payrolls result. We're going to see the US futures react to that result and either if they buck and go down and close below, or basically we start to see movement down under the 33.30, I would not be surprised at all to get back down into these 32.30 zones. Remember, it's all about markets, support, resistance, technicals, all those types of things. What we're looking for is fills. So we're basically looking for key levels. We know key resistance, 3,400, previous market highs before the pandemic, before everything started. We've got 34 kind of 30s over here that are acting as previous market structure resistance. We get through those areas, it's blue sky above all the way into previous highs. There's really very little market structure stopping us. We get under the 33.30, the market should try to fill to the next zone. There's no market structure in here. This is where 5-minute and 10-minute and 15-minute scalpers kind of get it wrong. You're looking for market structure and key levels. And the key levels, once you've seen the closes underneath, it usually gravitates to those zones. Hopefully that answers a little bit of your question. We will be looking at 15 minutes coming into the market though, of course, to see if we're channeling or finding any resistance or support. Mike says, good chance to buy more solid assets. Yeah, if that's your long-term goal, absolutely. Antonio Miranda says, quick question, my friend. We keep pushing futures on 33.83. which was the top in Feb 2020 S&P, and we were falling about those levels. Would you say it's bearish? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, we're testing the levels, just like we said, the 3,400, 33, kind of 80-ish zone. That was previous highs, as is just mentioned there, when we went into the crisis. So, of course, it is a key zone. Johnny Bravo says we hit 3,300 in the futures at the very bottom of the price action. We did, Johnny. We did, but we're still, where are we hovering right now? That's the key. Where are we hovering right now? We want to see real market trade. You know, we got down in kind of a little bit of a shock down to the 33, kind of 09. We haven't made a new low here. This 3,300 happened on 30th of September. I'd want to see a close on the 2-hour, 1-hour chart underneath that. But the chances are that when it gets under these zones and it closes, it tries to fill back into the low. And that's what, of course, usually does happen with TA. I mean, obviously, it's all statistics. It's all trying to figure out what's the best kind of likelihood. But yeah, that's the general thing that you look for. Time to cook the books on that NFP report, says Siddharth Murli. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yushin Vision has a negative feeling today. He's got 3,300. RC markets will open below 3,300. Non-farms will have a big play in that. I think if non-farms come in slightly negative, it could be a catalyst as well, couldn't it, to push the market down. Steven says, what are your expectations on NFP? Well, obviously the expectations here, let's load them up together. So here's the expectations of what non-farm payrolls is. Now, if we have a look, I prepped a little bit of news. Where's my news thing? Here it is. So this is the news about Trump today. Now, obviously, this is just a few people's opinions, but we'll read out a few people's opinions. So this particular Roni Nyem says he's basically going with, if he recovers quickly, he'll be right about the virus, which could be a boost for his campaign, fair enough. If he becomes very ill, even with sympathy vote, it may show that his approach is not working. Okay, fair enough. Then we go down here, economists polled MarketWatch. So this is the expectation of non-farms. So their expectation is that unemployment rate will fall to 8.2% from 8.4%. If we take a look at the jobs, here is the change. So basically, if we go up, this is forexfactory.com, by the way, previous forecast. We can see here the forecast is 900K. Now, will it come in that good? That's pretty optimistic, but these particular jobs reports, I've been finding them to be incredibly inaccurate when you read the amended report afterwards. I'm sure many of you feel like that out there. The amended report is ridiculous compared to the report that they're giving out at the market. And that's why the market takes a while to actually try to figure out what a non-farm payrolls result really is. They have to dig into it and figure it out. Have we been relatively correct? I'd say they've been pretty off recently in the non-farms. Now, they got last month supposedly correct, but overall, before that, really weird printing. This is an important non-farms as well because it's the last one before the election. So the election technically happens now before the next non-farm payrolls. So right now, we're at a very key pivotal point for a big bit of information. I would tend to think it comes in worse, but let's see if they cook it. I would think it's worse than expectation. But that's a complete and utter guess. And I think it'll be probably more likely that the number will come in around, and then after you see some of the changes afterwards, it might be actually a little bit worse than you think. All right, going over some other questions here. We've got, the dollar is strong. Is that why crypto markets are down? Absolutely, Mike. It's one of those things that is happening. We've got strong dollar. Strong dollar is, I think, more of a technical thing. Now, someone had a little bit of a go at me yesterday in the comments. They said dollar's going to fail and stuff like that. Look, dollar's coming down to a technical level. Once this chart eventually loads, which it just did, we're at a point where dollar has to make a decision whether it's going to start going bullish and really bullish up into the 95s and 96s, or it's going to go bearish here. And that's why it's here ahead of non-farm payrolls. Notice what's going on. Let's just draw this rectangle because it's always a good lesson to learn. What is most important? I'm going to ask the room here a question. What do you think is the most important thing with technical analysis? Great support resistance or more recent great support resistance? So here we've got the 93.80. Okay, 93.80. And here we've got kind of like a 93.65-ish area. This was more recent. Which is more important when it comes to being more likely to be the level the market goes to? Do you usually put more emphasis on your longer term technical levels, or do you put it on the shorter term? Because remember, what we're trying to do is figure out the market psychology and figure out what is more likely to occur. So I'd love to ask the question to everybody out there, what's going on with which one you look at? Do you look at the more recent or the further away? Johnny Bravo comes in, long-term support resistance. Siddharth, long-term support lines. Previous market structure, longer term, okay? Everyone's coming in with the longer term. So I think there's two cases here, all right? So if we're on a really, really long-term chart, let's say we're on a weekly or a monthly, which we should be looking at, it's very important. I would always, you might have pretty good resistance or support from 10 years ago, okay? I wouldn't put as much stock in that as I would in the last couple of years. We're in a different trading environment. So that's a fair point. I think on the weekly and the monthly charts, you'd be wanting to try to find the more recent support resistance and pay more attention to it. Here is a tough question because you would say the longer term kind of one over here is the clearer level. You've got kind of a triple resistance here, whereas in the middle down here, you don't have that as much. So what I do is I then box the range. And all I do is I box the range, alert the top, and then I wait for what we call the lightning bolt in that area. So I don't think there's a necessarily right or wrong answer, except if you're looking at weekly and monthlies, you don't put as much stock in the super old support resistance lines. And that's because it doesn't make sense to do so. Now, here we've got the area that I think, we would always expect some kind of pickup. We've picked up, but notice this, we've picked up into the 2 moving averages. This is a 4-hour chart, one of our favorite currency swing charts. It's a great chart to be swing trading commodities and currencies. If anyone said which is your favorite chart, it'll always be daily, but 4-hour would come in very close, weekly as well. They're my 3 favorite time frames. So the 4-hour here is testing the 20 and the 50 exponential moving averages, finding dynamic resistance there. We need this thing to break through. If you're a dollar bull, you need to close above this zone, and then of course you want to close above here. And as soon as you get to close above here, do not be surprised for dollar to hit up at this level. We need to see the price action start rolling through. We want to see obviously the low. We had a nice rejection off that, bit of a pin bar kind of bullish hammer. We're testing these resistances. Once we get clear of this, we've effectively got a little lightning bolt going on where we've had a low, we've had a high, we've had kind of a trough down here, and then we're looking for that new peak on the smaller time frames. So there's a lot going on here in the dollar, but for me, I box structure this kind of thing every time. Look for the lightning bolt, look for some kind of pattern on the smaller time frames, and then I want to get in. So very, very interesting on the dollar index. A few people here saying this is from Amarchand. I hope I've said your name right. I see DXY around 95.70 by October end. Yeah, look, DXY could certainly get up there into the 96s. We've talked about the structure around this 96 zone being heavy support previously when we go over, and therefore could be certainly resistance. 876 pips. Well, I know because your name 876 pips. He says, who trades weekly, monthly charts? Pretty much every rich person. 876. Every rich person. Obviously, they invest off those charts, but you should be very well aware of the money flow and key critical breaks on weekly, monthlies. It's overlooked. If you take one thing away from this stream, please consider start looking at those. Do top-down analysis. Just draw support resistance lines at the key areas. Know them. Know that when they break, the money flows going in that direction, and then get down on your small time frames and start, sniping it all off if you want pips. Daniel says, evening boss. Good evening, Daniel. So many questions coming in here. I am getting even behind myself here. There's a whole bunch of conspiracies coming in about this Trump stuff as well. Fair enough. And yes, I understand it can be pretty crazy. Let's have a look at pre-market just here. Let me just quickly read off some numbers. Pre-market coming into the open. We have Tesla down 4.4%, it looks like. We've got Square down 3.5%. We have other notables, kind of PayPal and AMD, both getting hit pretty hard, 2.9% respectively. And a few of the other ones like Twitter, Snap, Activision down, one of my favorites, Activision down 2 coming in. So decent amount of little bit of moves there. We'll bring that over little bit later. This is just the Webull thing that I'm using at the moment, but I've got a bit of an exciting one to show you tonight that was actually sent in by a viewer. So we'll be checking that a little bit later as well. All right, let's go back over to the Nasdaq. Just quickly check out this Nasdaq. We'll talk about copper then, and we'll talk about put call ratios. We are now 38 minutes away from non-farm payrolls, so we'll definitely go over there. So Nasdaq getting hit harder here when it comes to what the news is telling us. Why could that be? Well, obviously, if the market believes maybe the Democrats are going to win, potentially some of the big tech might be held accountable a little bit more to tax. Maybe a thought process there. So we've got the resistance. We hit that 11.6 on the futures, and we've definitely shorted off that level. Let's go to the 4 hour and just have a look at this 4 hour. What are we touching? What's important? Is this at a critical point? Well, we've come off the 50 exponential moving average once, and we're obviously sitting there. Again, the market likes to get to kind of key points either way that it's previously found support or resistance at before the non-farms event. It's pretty common. We'll have a look at the euro as well a little bit later. So really, I think, again, for the US 100, for you to see proper cracks, we want to get it under the 11.2. We want to see close under the 11.2 on a notable time frame, whether that be an hour or 4 hour, and then that opens really a very heavy push into 11 and then possibly back even into the lows. So we're going to have three critical levels of support: 11.2, 11,000, 10.8. Notice they're all 200 levels. Why is that? Well, there's pretty much just a whole bunch of market structure around those points. Horizontal lines, get them through. 11,000, psychological level, previous supports, previous resistance, previous support after it bounced through. Clear level, clear area. 11.2, we know that's a clear level and area as well. Previous resistance, previous support. And of course, we have the 10.8 area as well. So I think there's three clear 200 points. If you're looking at dialing into the smaller time frames, they're the kind of levels that you want to see closed below. And then when they're closed below, you can dial in and look for your scalping reasons to get the fill zones. That's the kind of thing that I like to do when I'm looking at scalps. If you're looking at scalps or intraday trades, find the key zone breaks, go from there. At this point, we're just really finding sup on the 50. Nothing notable, I think, happening pre-market. I think non-farms is going to be pushing this one either way. Here's a good one from Siddharth. He says, retail waking up and about to send a panic storm of sellers. So that's a good point, Siddharth. Let's think about what's going to happen here. What is everyone feeling out there? Are you negative towards today? Would you be selling, or are you looking at this from a buy opportunity? I'm actually really interested. We've got 447 viewers live right now. How many of you are bullish on Friday? Do you think today is going to end, like say we have this price here, do you think it's going to end up or down? And would you be selling into the open, or would you be buying into the open? Just say, are you buying in the open or selling in the open? You don't have to buy or sell, but tell me which one. Because I'm interested in knowing the human psychology behind general retail traders out there right now. How many of them are going to be spooked by this news? Pa says very negative. Selling and waiting, unexpected visits. Sell. APH is a buy. Oh, that's something else from Mike. bearish opportunity. I like MSD. Yes, opportunity, smiley face. Absolutely, mate. Selling, buying into open. Okay, all right. Look at this. There's a lot more sells than buys. This is very interesting because I kind of agree with you. I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a potential pressure maybe from a bit of selling. Now, I think Wall Street, they're pretty calm, cool, collected. They're going to look at it. How do we make the most amount of money from this opportunity? Do we push the market, create fear, grab more stocks at value, and then push it up? Because we know this is probably a blip on the horizon of long-term growth. Obviously, that's what it is. It usually always is with any piece of news. So if we do see the follow-through effect of people selling and not buying the opportunity, then of course we're going to have crashing points where people are just going to start to get fear. It's all about creation of fear. And speaking of fear, of course, let's go and take a look at the fear index. Oh, wait, sorry, the VIX, not the fear index. You're not allowed to call it that, eh? Let's have a look at that VIX coming into the market. Let's see how fearful, I guess, the VIX is. So the VIX is spiking. but it is not above that 30 zone. We're actually in almost a channel here on the VIX. It's pretty cool. Bit of a rare channel. We've got the 25, spoken about that heaps this week. And then we've got kind of body closes over this 30. We have not had one body close on a 4-hour chart above the 30 or the 25. So that's actually a 5 range in the VIX. Now, obviously, depending on which VIX you're looking at will be slightly different price, but you should see a very similar price action kind of setup. So we're in a channel on the VIX. If it breaks to the upside, we've said this quite a few times, we expect a decent spike. A channel of 5 points would be spiking to 35. Now, if the VIX gets through there ahead of market, you would have to think that's going to continue pressure selling underneath our supports as well. So the VIX is really coming in. It's probably going to go straight into the critical point very, very fast. So VIX at this point, I like that. 30 area, no body close for the VIX in recent price action. Sean says, got to see if Trump ends up on a ventilator. Well, if that happens, Sean, you will expect further selling downside pressure. Shane says, I'm always a buyer and rarely sell. Well, that's right. You trade, it's like a core satellite approach, hey, where you've got part of your portfolio that you're going to hold long, and then you've got part of your portfolio that you're going to look to sell and buy and trade around. So let's talk about copper here just quickly. Let's have a look at the market in terms of general health. So copper preempted everything. Obviously, there's quite a lot of bullish intentions on minerals, metals, everything out there. Has anyone looked at iron ore price recently? We'll be talking about that in a minute because there could be opportunities coming into iron ore as well. So copper obviously was holding that $3. It's been very, very heavily bought by, of course, China. China's September PMI reading suggests that the economy was entering, of course, a period of above trend growth. We know that in China, they like to build stuff. They make huge amounts of things and they use a lot of copper. Then, of course, we have, theoretically, the US in potential recovery as well. And all of those things should drive copper price up. Now, we saw copper price get absolutely destroyed, and where it's sitting right now is pretty interesting because it closed under the 2.95 support. And now that it's closed under there, I wouldn't be surprised to see copper actually bull up and then probably move down even further back down to the 2.8. What is this telling us? Well, it's telling us that maybe these prices in the markets are a little bit high. Like copper could definitely come back up, hit the 50 exponential moving average, sell off that point, come back down, and then of course test the 2.8 sub. Overall, the demand is there for copper. We know demand is there for copper, for iron ore, for all of these things. But there's starting to be a little bit of cracks. Remember, copper preempts the rest of the market. Why do we know this? 14th of Jan. If you load that up on the Nasdaq, you load that up 15th of Jan. Look at what copper did. It got brutalized. And it did all of that, a lot of this move, before the rest of the market came with it. So it's often a preemptive curse kind of on the markets. And that's what we're kind of seeing right now. Copper is looking weak, possibly into 2.8. Now, I'll maintain, I think we're still in just corrective phase. If we get under 2.8 price, I think we're looking at a full-blown S&P will start really diving. So if copper fell underneath 2.8 and closed, that's really a pretty big alert for me that we're going to see further lows on the S&P, especially if it happened before the S&P hit a new low. Onto iron ore price quickly. This is just a 5-year trend of iron ore price. So you can see iron ore has been going up pretty steadily. You can also see that iron ore trades very interestingly. Now, this is just an interesting chart, even if you're somebody that doesn't trade iron ore. And there's a few reasons for that. And I think one of them is that iron ore tends to have kind of like little spikes during the year. It has like seasonal events. And one of those seasonal events is it likes buying usually into like the kind of January further on period. Now, this year was a little bit different, but oftentimes you see that January period acting incredibly aggressively for iron ore. It does quite well into the Jan period. Notice that. If you look at all these Jans here, it does quite well. We're uncharacteristically high. We hit a new high for iron ore price, And then iron ore started to dump off. And this is affecting a lot of Australian stocks out there. If we've got Australian viewers, which I know we do, BHP, Rio, FMG, they're all coming under pressure. Oil is coming under pressure. Almost every commodity around the world is getting pressure put on it. And that creates an opportunity that you can always be looking at as well. And we'll check out Exxon later because Exxon's hitting some pretty key support as well for it. But yeah, iron ore price, very heavily overbought, but at the same time, it comes down, it creates that value. For about 12 to 18 months, we really expect iron ore to be quite strong. It's only in stage 1 of its overall bullish aggressive cycle because it will be purchased by every country to help with job creation. If we go here to CBOE and we take a look at what's going on around, we've got a 1.6 put call ratio. That's up from 1.4. So there was a bunch of puts coming into the market yesterday. I'm not sure without the Trump news that we would have seen selling pressure into the markets. Obviously would have been more non-farm payrolls result that would have done it. And overall, put call ratio is not still telling us that much about the markets, but not a huge amount of puts in the markets either. All right, whole bunch of other questions coming in here. Iron ore prices are heading south, medium to long term, says Shane. I think iron ore will spike again, Shane. I think it'll be fine, but you will see maybe further reduction in price. If you look at things like BHP and Rio, there are some pretty heavy support levels on those particular stocks. So you can look at material sectors as well and see how they're performing. All right, other questions. Just reading through a bunch of these. CME Group is a strong position, so that's the stock itself. Absolutely. Don't hold your breath on stimulus, says Siddharth. I think that stimulus will come, Siddharth, most likely before the election. However, it's going to be before the election. We're talking right now. Nguyen Dang says sell, but I want to buy in. I think that's probably to the sentiment question. What about my gold? Oh, Simon, hello. Welcome to the community, mate. We'll be I haven't actually even announced it yet, but yeah, we're going to be doing the trading community, the TC crew. So welcome very much, Simon. I think you are the first member of the trading community here at FX Evolution. Obviously, great to have you on board, and we'll be adding a whole bunch of things. I've got a few placeholders there, so I'll add to that overall. Welcome, mate. All right, let's have a look at some of the other things. We've got people coming in. What about gold? We'll be probably cross-checking gold into maybe US dollar into the news announcement. Overall, just to quickly recap, S&P 500, Nasdaq, if we're looking at supports, Nasdaq has 200-point SUPs all the way through down, and we're looking at, first off, maybe even into the market open, the 11.2 could be tested after non-farms. Let's see what happens there. All right, let's load up this gold. Max Talk says Bitcoin is really paying now. The rise of Bitcoin has changed so many things. Absolutely, Max. I think that the rise of cryptocurrency in general is moving so many things. So let's load up this gold. So gold actually being bull pressured here. It's coming up to a point, and it actually already reached it pretty much very, very similarly the other day. We had that 19, almost 20 zone that was acting as support, and then of course resistance. This is a really key critical point for gold. Now this is the OANDA data. If you look at some 4-hour charts, and this is why it pays to use different data on 4 hours, actually every single one of these points was no body close. We had purely just basically a bunch of body close above this point. There was no body close underneath it. So this is going to be a point where I expect even today, gold could bull into this, and 1920 should find heavy resistance, heavy like kind of selling pressure. We've got a 2050 cross here as well, but overall, I think the selling pressure is all around this 1920. Very, very key zone. It almost tapped it as well and then just quickly sold off before. Non-farms can do anything, but in general terms, 1920 is going to be a tough point for the market to get through. If you look at other things on gold, I'm sure many people go into this double bottom. Beautiful double bottom on the 1 hour, 4 hour, great accumulation. If you ever see a nice sell-off like this, and then you have this beautiful double bottom pattern where you effectively got a low tested by even possibly a new lower low or something like that, and then you have the break at the intervening peak, and they're very, very close together. This is a go train against trend. Usually you don't want to go against trend, but that is the go train right there. Really, really, really nice structure. Great double bottom. Beautiful buy. If where you were taking profit, here all day. Just below the 1900 psychological. It did end up going through, but there's a whole bunch of trades we go through on this. We've got Matthew Brown coming in with $10. Thank you very much. Could you look at Sedge? Should I look for the exit? So we'll definitely check out Sedge. I'm not too familiar with it, Matthew, but thank you very much for the 10 and obviously supporting the channel. Let's just quickly take a look at this one. So this is SolarEdge Technologies, and overall being a pretty bullish stock. Nice double bottom as well on this one, Matthew, by the way. That was very nice. Great structure, great break. Really, really strong out of the gates, isn't it? So a stock like this, if this is the right one, Matthew, this is not only having a very, very nice kind of move up, but it shows a huge amount of bullish aggression. It probably won't necessarily be, well, it will be affected a lot from a percentage base, but look at your market structure here. Look at the previous resistance points. That's a great resistance. 226 resistance coming off. We haven't really tested it yet. So we may see the market pull back, hit the 20, because it is very far away from the 20 right now if this is the one. But this basically could hit the 20 at the 226, find two resistance, 20, and probably a fib of the whole move. So that would be a key level. It depends what your plan is. I mean, obviously today we're looking at a market down at the beginning, but if your plan is to take it to a higher level, then I don't see why this zone wouldn't be at least a technical, some buying pressure coming in here. Pre-market looks like you're looking at 242. This is pretty good. I like this. So I like the 226, but I specifically like it if you pulled off the double bottom. If you didn't see that double bottom, you should definitely be rechecking your charts, because that's great, man. Really nice. Double bottoms often signify as well a strong break at the resistance. So when you've got like a 2-touch resistance, we've got this 1, 2-touch resistance, or even 3-touch resistance, you'd be surprised how often when you've got a really nice pullback into a double bottom pattern, when the double bottom is taking profit up here at the resistance in a stock, often it's just going to go bang through. And of course there was news coming into this, I'm sure. Hopefully that helps you a little bit there, mate. And I do appreciate the 10 and the support, of course, as always. A whole bunch of questions other than that coming in. Paul Terry says, I invested $500 worth of Bitcoin. Got surprised after 5 to 7 days. I made $35.50. Oh, okay. I think that's actually a spam. So thank you very much there, Paul. I didn't even know there was spam that's possible in comment chats, but there you go. I'll have to get a few mods, I think, to be able to delete those ones. Pretty impressive. Everyone's been seeing on YouTube, they need to deal with the spam bots, guys. These spam bots are everywhere. Like, always like, impressive content, and then they're like, I made $12,000 with Mr. Jessica or something. Mr. whatever. It's bizarre. Spammers in the live chat. There we go. They got me. Oh, okay, so the spammers are in the chat. All right, Shane, I am going to make you ability to get rid of these people. Let me just quickly do this. There you go. Can you delete them for me, Shane? There you go, mate. Also, Dane messaged me, and I'll make you mods so you can delete them as well. Bank Nifty. I get asked the question about Bank Nifty, I reckon, every single stream. So you know what? I'll give it to you because we always get asked. It's this one here, yeah, Bank Nifty. So overall, I think last time we were talking about it, really needed to break up above this 21 area and did so. Looking all right at resistance right now. This is clear sup. I'd expect it to be a resistance. You'd probably think it pulls back down to previous level. If we go to the daily, let's have a quick look at what's going on here. It's a nice strong break, by the way. Nice strong close. I still think it finds resistance here, but overall, that's nice price action. So hopefully you get it above 22,756. If that happens, as soon as that happens, you know, you're looking at very strong movement, possibly into 24. I like this overall. If you're just thinking about it from a price action standpoint, we've got a big lightning bolt, got a new peak coming through, strong price action. And while it might get hurt a little bit, if this is the one you're talking about, I wouldn't even expect it to come down that far. Maybe come down, test previous peaks, and then move higher. At this stage, looking very bullish. So not bad on Bank Nifty. All right, let's have a look around on the markets. We now have only 17 minutes until non-farms. So Tesla coming back and touching the resistance yesterday. The 450 resistance keeps acting as resistance. We're down 3.3% pre-market. Could be seeing even more pre-market here in only a few minutes. But Tesla's resilience towards hitting 50s and then selling off is pretty funny and pretty wild. Remember, Tesla trades very aggressively both ways. A close high above the 450, we've said this quite a few times, instantly exposes previous peaks. I know there's a lot of people that trade in Tesla out there. We see a break of this resistance, and that is super duper level, like 450 break of resistance, all of a sudden very aggressive out of the gates. Generally doesn't even give us the conservative pullback where it comes back down and tests it. It just goes straight up. There's nothing else for it. Now, if it sells off, probably could go all the way back to the 400. Why does it do that? Well, it's like these 50 zones. Saw 350 getting picked up the other day. Obviously saw this pullback into market structure recently. It's actually trading relatively technically. So at this point, all we're really looking at is probably selling back down. We'll check out Tesla in more detail later, but even the 1 hour chart, 420's got quite a lot of previous support and a lot of moving averages there on the 1 hour. So there might be some pickups there on the smaller time frames today as well. 420 could be a target for Tesla. Nikhil Sharma says, buy the dip, already showing signs of recovery. Yeah, I think, look, you know, a lot of it will come into people pricing in for non-farms as well. So non-farms is in 16 minutes. Overall, look, if you're a fund manager, of course you're trying to buy value. Longer term, you're feeling okay. Mike's talking about a few banks, few people mentioning big divs coming out of banks. Remember, it's not all about the div. There's a whole bunch of other risks there as well. Pa says, wow, first time seeing spam in the chat. Yeah, I've never seen it before either. It was pretty impressive. Farad says tons of people are getting scammed by BTC scam bots. Are you serious? People fall for the scam bots? I mean, I guess I fell for reading it, but as soon as you see it, you're like, oh man, no way. FaZe Ibe says, what plan do you use on TradingView? I'm just using a Pro here, but I mean, you could use any of them. I mean, the only reason I might upgrade it, I don't really plan on using this software like all the time for trading in the live stream, is just to get some of these bigger windows for everyone out there. So I may do that, but overall, yeah, I'm just using the Pro here. Yep, metals. So we had a look at gold. Obviously, gold pressure on the 1920 is the key zone here for gold. Silver overall still looking relatively okay. We've got here the 24 kind of 30 zone. That's a very key pivotal point now because, of course, we had that peak. I always think silver likes 50-cent increments more than anything else. But even this on silver, I'm not really a big fan of trend lines or anything like that. But let's go down to a 1 hour and just see how silver's been holding the line. So you'll know that I hate trend lines. I also hate this magnetic thing. I got told how to turn that off the other day. But basically here we've got a level of trend line being set up on silver. So silver's been pretty much testing this, buying off this level. We're getting to a point now where price is not finding a huge amount of strength. Now, this is probably good enough for me to say if we get closes underneath, especially closes underneath this 2350, it's very bearish for silver. I wouldn't be surprised that if silver got underneath this zone, all of a sudden, well, of course, we'd be seeing dollar go the other way. But this area here, we see 50-cent increment very, very fast on silver down to 23, and then possibly even further. It is starting to trade in a trend line. I'm not a big fan generally of trend lines, but it certainly is. How are the FANG stocks reacting in general? Got a couple of questions coming in there on that one. Yeah, we'll definitely check those out. Now, I said before, it's just interesting to see certain things going on right now. And this is a quick chart here of all of the different sectors in the market. Now, remember, we will be doing an entire stream when it's not so interesting on the sectors, and we'll be doing an analysis on each sector and how to spot sector rotation from Wall Street. So definitely consider subscribing if you're a new viewer out there, because we're going to go cover that very, very soon. But overall, these are all the sectors, and we can see here a 1-year return. So no surprise that the XLK tech sector's up. Check out this though. Even when you're looking at a sector on a line chart, you can see here XLE, the energy sectors, starting to get beaten right back down. It's basically looking incredibly sick, isn't it? But what is sick will eventually recover. So we're now starting to see a little bit of value. Call this the blow-off event that's caused here. But each sector, some are doing better than others. XLY now doing a lot better, up 20, but not all are the same. So we've still got a lot of sickness in the S&P 500 overall. It's just really being held up by the top 3 sectors. Very, very interesting when you break it down that way. Is Streamlabs the bot? No, Streamlabs is fine. Don't ban Streamlabs. It's meant to just say thank you very much and stuff. Shane, don't ban that one, mate. All right, let's have a look around the futures. And again, we'll refresh this chart. We'll see what's going on ahead of 12 minutes now to non-farm payrolls. It's an exciting one. We have to set up our charts. We have to set up that euro as well. Take a look at euro US dollar. I think you tell me, the community, what do you want to watch coming into non-farms? I mean, I think we need to watch dollar. Do we want to watch dollar versus an index? We can have 2 on a chart. Which one do we want? So dollar, I'm going to put in executive decision. We're doing that one. Let's check out the others. Yeah, we'll look at Bitcoin coming in as well. So let's do Bitcoin quickly now and just load that up, because Bitcoin is pretty interesting all the time. All right, so obviously incredibly strong Bitcoin pressure at 10. We know this. If we have a look here, you can almost break this down to a really small chart, and you'd probably be able to say, oh, I've got a little double bottom here that could happen. But I'm not really a fan of structure on these time frames, just because I don't think it's enough, especially into non-farms. If you're positioning in on 15 minutes into non-farms, it's kind of like a really, really, really kind of crazy acid trip or something. You don't want to be doing that. You could lose a whole bunch of money into non-farms on this. But let's have a look at the daily. So the daily overall starting to weaken. We don't want to see it get under 10K under any circumstances under 10K. No daily under 10K. Hope and pray for that. Otherwise, a lot of sentiment will be shot on Bitcoin. If we take a look here, we've got clear structure at this 10,650, just because there's a whole bunch of, you probably have to box it and maybe go between $25, but there's a lot of levels here, and we've got 3 moving averages above it. So it's going to be a little bit tough to get through this zone the first time. So when you're looking at kind of scalp opportunities and day trade opportunities, if you have 3 moving averages above, you have price coming into them, and you've got previous kind of structure. And an easier way of seeing structure is to switch it over to a line chart. And then you can see clear structure. Nobody uses line charts. They should, because line charts smooth your price out. But basically you have, level here and a level here. And you would draw your box on the line chart. Where's my drawing tool? Here we go. Draw your box on the line chart. And when you do that, then you can say, okay, well, I've got my little zone. I'm looking for smaller time frame. Maybe it comes up here. I'm looking for smaller time frame lightning bolts down. And then that gives me my opportunity to scalp or day trade. That's why you use all the time frames. You go from the daily or the weekly into the daily, into the 4-hour, find your key support resistance, then jump in your 5-minute, 15-minute charts and target the key zones. Changer, game changer. All right, let's have a look. I like this one. Malachi, absolutely. BitConnect. Oh man, I love that BitConnect. That Carlos go is so funny. Pretty old now, but so good. SPX, DXY, gold, SPX. All right. I know we have so many people loving the SPX. So we'll put in dollar versus SPX, and we'll go down to the 5-minute chart. Definitely watch those. I think S&P 500 makes the most sense to watch into the non-farms as well. S&P 500, how's it looking? All right, that's fair enough. So coming off the key level, where are we trading? 33.33. So remember, this is the futures. What we want to be doing is looking at that 33.30, what's on the real market, the SPX. That's the one that matters. That's the one we care about. Don't care about nothing else. So yeah, right now we're just keying up right at the zone, a little bit of buying pressure. Doesn't mean that much, but we are seeing the zone hold into the announcement. All right, let's load up this dollar versus the old SPX. Actually, no, of course, US 500. We have to go with futures. All right, get these charts up. What time frame? All right, we'll live kind of dangerously. No, we'll live really dangerously. We'll go 5 minutes. It'll make it a bit more exciting then. Okay, so dollar index putting pressure on the shorter time frame SUP. So you can see here the SUP's being tested, 93.70 ahead of the market. It's a decent little sell-off there as well that we've seen during the stream. It's a decent little sell-off back into a bunch of support that was there previously. It's probably the best the market can get it to. On the right-hand side, S&P. On the left-hand side, dollar index. We'll look at both of those. Onto the markets. Let me just quickly load up what's going in pre-market into the markets here. Any big changes overall that we're seeing? Mostly a sea of red. So here's again just this Webull thing. Got over here a bunch of red coming in, led by a bunch of tech stocks. Obviously Nasdaq getting hit the hardest. If we look at the pre-market greens, not that many greens. I've just quickly filtered this for everybody. I've filtered it from 30 billion up. The reason I'm doing 30 billion is I don't want to deal with the smaller companies right now. I think it's more interesting when we have such a big community to be looking at the bigger ones. So that's what we're looking at here. AstraZeneca, obviously looking a little bit bullish coming into the market, but overall, the downs are in really the stocks that have been hot for the last month. Okay, 6 minutes off here. Take a few more questions coming into it. Check out my curve trend line, says Par. Never curve your trend lines, Par. That's why I hate them. I hate trend lines quite a lot. And you know why I hate them? Because often you'll find that you'll curve fit so often for yourself. You'll do it, and then you'll take a bunch of losses and you'll think, oh, that was a great trend line. But you curve fit so that you get into a great investment. Horizontal sup res, one of the best places to start. Did I hear Tyrone's in the room? Hey, Ty, what's going on? If Tyrone's in the room, shout out to him. Obviously, we put in a good week this week. It's been very nice. Also, a quick shout out, Farid. Very, very good. Thank you again for entering the competition, everybody. It's been excellent. And I think this would be a good time as well to make a quick announcement. And this is the way we'll probably get people into it tonight. We are giving away another $500 for the month of October into the election. We'll draw it on the election day live. We're doing it a little bit different way. If you go to fxevolution.com and just sign up for the trading cheat sheet, it's free anyway. That's all you have to do. If you want to, follow us on one of the socials that you get in the email link there. That would be top tip. Make sure, of course, you're subscribed to the channel. We're giving away $500. Farid won it on Thursday, so congratulations to him again. But this time, another $500 giveaway on the election day. And it's going to be an amazing election stream, by the way. 12 hours of pure financial content and a whole bunch of crazy action. All right, Freud, and then we'll write down here natural gas. I will look at natural gas a little bit later for you after the non-farms, okay? We're getting into it now, so we will look at natural gas, but it will be a little bit after. Okay, I'm just having a look through here, a few questions. Remember, ask your questions through and we will answer as many as we can. There's a whole bunch of requests for a bunch of stocks. We will look at some of them. We'll look, of course, at natural gas. iDummin says 3K up today and done. Natural gas supposedly at a 5-year average. All right, we're 3 minutes away from non-farm payroll results. So here usually what you see is you see a little bit of random repositioning from people trying to scalp into it. Often it moves a little bit on the 1 minute chart, kind of erratically in some data feeds. And then we do see a little bit of movement. So we should see positioning starting to come in 3 minutes out. Well, Ash says, what time frames do you trade on, Tom? 4 hour, daily, weekly, mostly, Ash. 4 hour, daily, weekly. The 3 best. Nothing better than those time frames, in my opinion. Jemin says, I unintentionally earned almost 5K on shorts today. Well done, mate. Oh, here's an interesting one from Brett. Counter trend rally on the S&P 500 now almost identical in length and breadth as the 1929 rally. Looking grim. So what he's talking about there is basically if you had a look at the 1929 chart ever, and this is the last time the market really did a massive bull trap, the market moved up heavily, made a new high, and then of course started declining off the new high. And it did it so at a very, very similar time as well, which is why it's all creepy right now. But yeah, that was very, very, very important. Lee Lethville says, normally news events moves quickly reverse. So when you watch a lot of news events, pretty much with non-farm payrolls, it goes up, down, and all around, but it is often one that ends up creating a bit of maybe a trend for that day into the next week, Lil. But generally speaking, when a news event is different from expectation, oh no, it moves off in a direction. It ain't coming back. It doesn't come back. Yeah, Dane, you can send that through. So we're looking at 1 minute coming into the non-farms here. Only 30 seconds away, everybody. Very, very close now to the non-farm result. We're seeing on the right-hand side here, of course, US 500. On the left-hand side here, we've got dollar index. So we're about to get this result right now. I'm going to load it up on my side just so I can see it as well. It'll probably be a little bit delayed here for me, but we'll obviously see it in price straight away. So I've got that set up. We're expecting a 900K figure, unemployment to drop from 8.4 to 8.2. Not historically the most trustworthy piece of information coming out of this one recently. Okay, here we go. News is out. All right, so we've got a little bit of decline coming in the S&P. Remember, it takes a little while for the market to digest this figure. Let's see what happens. Small decline coming in. Just getting my number up. My one will be slightly delayed on this particular Forex Factory thing than my normal feeds. Figure's pretty good. 7.9. 661 figure. Jeez. Well, there you go. That is stupid. And watch out, probably would try to sell anyway. That is a ridiculously good looking figure, isn't it? Unemployment rate 7.9 here. Alrighty, well, there you go. Well, for us hoping for fireworks off this number is annoying for fireworks. The market will do its own thing anyway, but it's not a clear catalyst, is it? So we're going to see dollar index strength dollar index weakness, it looks like, off that number. Dollar index weakness off that number right now. And there it goes off a little bit down now. It's moving down. And market's just kind of hovering. It obviously isn't sure what to do about that. few people saying, do not believe. I don't believe that number. They kidding themselves? Anyone believe that number? Nah. All right, we'll go around the rest of the market. Quite a few people don't like it. Absolutely. Yeah, crazy number. Ridiculous. All right, let's have a look at the Nasdaq. Check that out. So Nasdaq slight recovery based on the number. I'm telling you what, this number would have punched 11.6 if we didn't have the Trump news. You would have punched 11.6 today on that. We did not, obviously. We still have. Now it doesn't know. You can tell as well. It has no idea what to do. It's a very unusual kind of event where you have no idea what to do. The only thing they can choose to do right now is sell the dollar a little bit, but they're not even sure about doing that. So this is when we get the interpretation event and we have to see what's going on in the markets. It kind of makes me laugh, this one. All right, let's have a look at pre-market then. We'll go through some stocks. People are looking for jobs because there is none. Here's a good question here from Greg Zors. If the numbers improve, I wonder if there's a less chance for future stimulus. I think there's definitely quite a lot of stimulus that'll come through. I think they're going to try to target stimulus after this next one. Farid says they're fishing for liquidity. Well, I think realistically, we look at a number like this and we have to think to ourselves, well, the market's obviously now going to have to go and read into it, and it's going to take a little bit of time for them to decide what's going on. Let's have a look at the broader kind of terms of what's going on. Pre-market, we have now still led by Tesla, still down around 4% on Tesla. If we bring this just quickly over here, we are basically still down around the same amount. There's really no movements going. So we'll have a look at the technicals, I think, on the charts. Take a couple of requests as well and go through those. Solar sector has been in beast mode, says Generation Recon. I absolutely believe that that is a very fair point. Solar sector has been due it for a while, hasn't it? So that's the new favorite kind of sector. Markets aren't liking the call. Well, they're seeing dollar here now moving, but these are very small overall moves. I mean, yes, it's a lot of money, but this is not what you expect from a non-farm payroll result. And I think it's because of the disjoint between the current Trump news and that figure and what the hell is going on. Every single non-farms I've read has been worse than the number initially looks. I'm pretty sure anyone else that's had a look through it as well would be like, yeah, that's no good. Okay, let's go and have a look at some of these FANG stocks coming into the market open, because they're the ones that obviously a lot of people want to get into and a lot of people want to look at. Go to Google quickly here, bring up that chart. Google's an interesting one because it double bottomed the other day. So we had the nice double bottom. Where are we now? We're testing the previous resistance, previous support of the double bottom. We've talked about Google to death on this channel. Obviously, we've talked about a whole bunch. We know that 1300 is super sup. We know this because if we take a look at the daily chart or the weekly, let's go the weekly chart, look at what Google did for years. We need to remember 2018 highs, 2019 highs, break resistance, sup. All of this level here is magical for Google. It's very, very clear it's magical. We're way higher than that, but overall, we are at a point now where the market looks like it's opening at 452, and 452 is right where the double bottom on the smaller time frames is found its kind of peak, and that should act as some form of sup. We look at overall, Google is still down a lot. You know, what are the so-called beasts of the internet world thinking in terms of their calls on this sector? So if we actually load up this other chart, which I'll bring on right now, have a look at this for Google. Look at what the expectation is for Alphabet overall, and you'll be pretty surprised at the consensus estimates here. So let me bring in these consensus estimates. So here we've got the consensus estimates, and overall we have 1786 reading for Alphabet. That's a huge reading. 19.9% upside on yesterday's price. We're looking at 14.56 into the open coming into that previous peak double bottom. Overall, you know, it's amazing how high they've called it. Strong buys, everything. I think a lot of this was really just upgrading for the sake of upgrading, though. It's why you generally don't use targets. I don't mind using averages, and I only use them because of the psychology behind the fact that every investment advisor is like, oh, you know, John, you can buy Google so much cheaper, man. You can buy it 20% under what our economist thinks it's worth. What do you think? You know, I'd like to charge you 1% commission on that brokerage. So what do you think? That's why you end up using a lot of these average price targets as part of your analysis. If you find good TA and then you find really crazy target upside, overall, it's kind of like a very good thing to look at. So I like that. Not bad. Dollar busting up now. A little bit of a move on dollar up. Bit of a move on market down. Obviously, they are calling a little bit of BS on that number. That number looks ridiculous. I'm telling you. No good. What's the Nasdaq doing? Nasdaq falling further down, a little bit further down. Remember, the market just does what it really feels like. Whatever's more profitable for Wall Street to make more money, that's the plan. Go to a few questions here, and then we'll load up some more charts. I will load up Apple because we've had a whole bunch of requests there. Yes, we'll go over to natural gas as well. So Apple coming in at 2.77 down, a 113 handle, it looks like. That is not probably just low enough yet. The 112 has been an amazing little level. We are on a bunch of moving averages, but overall, another double bottom here on the 4 hour. Previous support, broke through, found resistance there. We know the market likes this 111, 112 zone. So you can definitely box structure that up and go down to your little smaller time frames if you're looking for trades and stuff. That's the kind of, you know, area that you'd be looking at. And that's the way you'd look at it because it makes sense. This zone has found support, resistance support again. Ben says, Tom, why do you think the number sounds ridiculous? I think the number sounds ridiculous because it's way better than expectation. And if you have a look at the politics at play here into this non-farms, and you also have a look at almost every other report, they've all been revised to slightly worse numbers or worse numbers by quite a lot. So the initial number is nowhere near the revised number. That's why I kind of get annoyed at it because it just seems like a little bit too good to be true coming into an election. So yeah, I like this Apple at these levels. Obviously, Apple's a great long-term stock. If we look at expectations on Apple moving in, I think Apple's got a 119 reader on it in terms of 12-month expectation. Overall, you know, a lot of the way that we look at fundamentals right now is very, very tough because everything's trading at crazy PE, but we don't know how much growth is really in it. Market is now trading at, so S&P 500, trading at 33.28, so right on the sup. It's really going to take a lead from Wall Street. First hour of trade, remember, means nothing because first hour of trade might be wild, but it's the close of Friday that's going to show true sentiment of the market. If the market sells off into the close, just like I said in another video, that's really showing you the bigger traders, bigger positions are being sold off. If the market is, you know, selling off in the open, that's just retail trade mostly. Bigger positions always happen at the end of the day. Why the constant rumors about market crash recently? What are your thoughts, says Faye? Look, overall, I mean, obviously, it's very good for creating a whole bunch of interesting videos, isn't it? And getting clicks. I don't think there's necessarily a crash here unless we see, you know, some of the key indicators go down. I mean, obviously, the Fed have put a put in the market. No one has respect for the Fed right now. But that being said, they still have other key tools they can use. Congress has the stimulus. Those kind of things can support the markets. We're in a sentiment market. If they continue to get sentiment doing so well, then that's all fine. Google is down $35 pre-market. I was thinking about unemployment rate being 7.9. So they're saying the unemployment rate is going down. Jobs, yeah, 661, but unemployment rate 7.9 is what I'm saying. So that's the thing that interests me. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. 661 jobs is under the expectation. So if you look at the calendar, we refresh this in, then we've got, so I was just reading a whole bunch of comments there. So we've got 7.9% is what they're saying unemployment rate is. And then they're saying non-farm employment change, obviously 661, which is talking about the number of jobs. So this is coming under, and this is coming, unemployment rate's great. What I'm saying, it's like bizarre. Chinese stocks looking interesting. I think the Shanghai Composite is certainly worthwhile looking at. Absolutely. We should load that up, actually. Look at that Shanghai Comp, because it's always a good read if you look at the Shanghai Comp and check out the markets. So we check the daily here. Shanghai Comp's pretty wild market when it gets bullish, and then when it gets bearish, it gets really bearish. Shanghai Comp has some key levels on it. So the couple of key levels, every 200 points is a super cool level on the Shanghai Comp. It hit 3,400, spiked through it a few times, resistance sold off. 3,200, now on the 20, pretty much like a key level for it. And if it gets through there, just above 3,000, you'll probably find support. So you've got these two weekly moving averages, 200 and a 50. Somewhere in this zone here, you would probably find support in this market. But if it closes through, 3,000 has historically been a really nice kind of median, almost touch zone for the Shanghai Comp. So we had that big bullish movement back in July, and then since then it's just been kind of like buying, selling, buying. It's in a massive channel. Go to the daily, you can see it starting to weaken. The reason why you think it might break these lows is because we have a series of lower highs coming into an equal low. Remember, lower highs signify that there is no bullish intention in the market. It didn't go back up and test the 3,400. It weakened off. Then we've got a 2050 cross. 2050 cross here, exponential moving average just about to happen as it breaks through. So that's again bearish for it as well. So 3,000, just above 3,000, always interesting on the Shanghai Comp. Dividend for Apple is rubbish, says Mike. Yeah, it's pretty low. I still remember Carl Icahn, I think it was, or Icahn, or however you say it, and he was making like all these calls that Apple should do that, and his big stockholder, and then he went and bought Hertz and sold up his Apple and his Netflix. Bet he regrets that one. Shane says 0.3% drop off in participation rate for jobs. Yeah, I mean, look, that's the problem with the figure, isn't it? You're seeing how many jobs have been created, worse figure, unemployment rate looks better. Then you automatically see, oh, well, what's really going on? A whole bunch of people are dropping off and not participating in work, and they just drop them. That's the problem with the US unemployment figures, why it's always so hard. History has proven repeatedly that the stock market is most likely to crash in the month of October. Well, September is the weakest month of the year, and then October, of course, is the one of the second weakest months of the year. So we've got dollar index here now finding some strength, which is good for all of us bulls on dollar index. And we have US 500 coming down to 33.23 handle. So maybe they're reading through it. Maybe they're saying, well, we didn't get as many jobs as we thought. Unemployment rate, sure, it's low, as Shane got me the data there. 0.3% drop off in participation rate. Doesn't look very good either. Copper gave Trump COVID, says Scott. Absolutely. Yep. All right, let's have a look here at natural gas because I said I would. I'll just quickly load up. Where are we? Where's my natural gas? There it is. So it's pretty low, natural gas right now. If we go to a weekly, we'll see the base for natural gas during the crisis got to 1.5. So it's had some pretty bull moves and bear moves. You'll see also that sometimes commodities don't work out. Natural gas went crazy over the years and then now it's not doing so well due to overabundance of it. Clear sup res 2 obviously hit 2.5. I'm not sure why I'm looking at this one so much other than, you know, somebody wanted to look at it. Not sure what you're looking at exactly. It's been selling off, but it had a massive jump in contract. Don't think it's too interesting. Let's have a look at the broad markets here. 10:47, so we've got just under 45 minutes moving into the open itself. 33.19 here on the futures for the S&P. Looking at open markets being down, not as much. So obviously more led by the US here due to the news, due to the Trump news. 11,337.50 on the Nasdaq. Russell 1502. So still the big one has been the Nasdaq move. Brent energy getting smashed. Let's have a look at Exxon. I want to look at Exxon with everybody. I think it's really, really worthwhile checking out. Nasdaq expectations at open. So we covered that one a little bit before. Expectations are that it might come down to 11.2 and sit there on the open and wait for some kind of price action at that point. All right, let's load up this one. So I want to load up Amazon first, and then we'll get into loading up Exxon and the others. Okay, so Amazon has had a decent little return here. We'll go to a candlestick chart, check that out. Amazon looking relatively bullish, but it should come down off today. 3157 pre-market. So we might be able to see it into the 3120s, where it'll probably find buying pressure. Previous resistance, previous support. 2 moving averages here on the daily as well, acting as dynamic support. For Amazon to go any lower, it's going to be tough for it to get through this 3120 zone because of the previous support, previous moving averages, previous resistance. If it does, instant gap fill kind of area back down to the 2920, 2900. That's the kind of thing about TA. What you're really saying is, yes, I think this is possible to get down here. Yes, I think that's a good zone that's going to find support. But if we close below that level, what is that telling us about market sentiment? Really bearish, yeah? And when it's really bearish, bang, all the way into the next level. It gap fills. It fills that zone. That's the kind of thing that always moves and happens quite a lot. So, yeah, Amazon's not too bad. Most of these tech stocks seem to be coming back to previous resistances they broke out of only a few days ago, and they're going to test that, it looks like, into the open. So let's check out this Exxon chart. I want to check out this Exxon chart. I'm not going to be able to get rid of all this volume, so I'll pull it up. Check out this. We are now down to a 32.36 handle on ExxonMobil. It's pretty unbelievable that we're almost at COVID lows now on this particular stock. I think if they were paying dividends as high, it's like a 10% div or something now. Overall, we're getting pretty far away from the 20 moving average here on the daily as well. Let's zoom that in and have a look. So we're starting to see a pretty much capitulation of price, but it hasn't even come back to a daily 20. Usually in a downtrend or any trend, you don't see this kind of sustained selling. This is actually at a point now where you can again start to draw trend lines. You can again start to say, well, we're on a downward trajectory kind of trend line here. Probably worthwhile going into a 4-hour, checking it out, and saying, well, we're basically tapping that today. We're going to be underneath that level. What are we going on the open? 32.36. So we're going to be right around it in terms of where it should find some support pressure. And then we consider where the COVID lows were of 31.40 down to $30. We're starting to find pretty decent, what you would clearly say is an investable value zone. Biden tested negative. The thing is though, John, is if Biden tests negative, would they know yet? Isn't there some kind of crazed incubation? Or I'm not even very much an expert on that stuff, but I think there's still more time on that one. Wasn't the DAX FTSE rolling over anyways? Unexpected visit. Yeah, it is, because it's got a whole bunch of kind of sick sectors in it. MC says, hey Tom, a bit late tonight. Sorry, mate. Are we expecting some weakness tonight? ASX got smashed at the end on the DT news. Absolutely. So Donald Trump pushed it down, MC, but we didn't. We had a weird non-farm result. We had obviously looked like less participation. Therefore, we had an unemployment rate at 7.9, and we had a number coming in weaker than the number produced. So it's a 661 number in jobs, but we had a 7.9 reading on unemployment rate. So the market took a little bit to get that going on. Keep the questions coming in as well. But yeah, ExxonMobil is something that I've definitely been looking at, and it's always one of those interesting kind of zones for this type of stock if you're looking at deep value. If you actually have a look at the expectations on the market, check out this one. I'll give you the expectations on what everyone else consensusly believes this stock is worth. Wait, what do you think? Tell me what you think the monkeys think this is worth. What do you think everyone in the industry believes the average 12-month price target for ExxonMobil is? Answer that one in the room right now. We'll go on to another stock. We'll have a quick look at dollar index and, of course, S&P 500 into the open here. We've got 33.20 handle. Dollar index now starting to bull strong. I'm happy about that. Got no problems with that. So it took a little while to probably interpret that figure. Thanks very much again, Shane, for getting that participation rate for us. We're putting pressure on the right zones. We're putting pressure on what we said pre-stream was the key area for us to see a close above. We want to see 4-hour close above this 93.90. Few people, 120 says Ash. My God, Ash, you really believe they love it, don't you? 50, 50, 65, 40. All right, we will look at FedEx. Okay, here we go. Currently trading 32.30, 49. Hey, if I listen to them, I get a 47.9% upside in the next 12 months. Ooh, 49. That is ambitious. But it just shows you how it is with these 12-month targets. Whole bunch sitting just in this hold functionality. But overall, it's going to be even better than 47.9% upside. Pretty funny. Thanks very much for participating, everyone. I like that 120 call, Ash. Great. Brian gets the prize. One off. 48. Well, I'm actually glad that no one cheated. I have a feeling the last people might have cheated. But everyone else didn't cheat. So we're getting here a little bit of pressure. I'm excited to see whether we get under the 33.30 on the open. Oh, imagine if we put this futures pressure down here. 33.15 S&P coming to the open. I'm actually pretty excited about that. Because I wouldn't mind. I still want to get some Apple, you know. We want to get some more Apple. And I just want it a little bit cheaper. A little bit cheaper. It's not much to ask, is it? All right, now I said I'd look at FedEx, so we'll go over there, check out FedEx. Been an interesting chart recently. Send through a couple of other big kind of companies. I do like looking at the bigger ones if possible. Send through some others. So FedEx is gone wild. FedEx gone wild. If we go to a weekly, is this actually the one I want? Yeah, this is FedEx. So pretty crazy kind of pull up here on FedEx. We're going and testing previous highs. This one here is a late bloomer in the crisis period of the weeklies. Just constantly massive amounts of bullish pressure coming in here. Hey, wow, we're basically at resistance. So my thoughts here, well, it's at resistance. If I was like an investor even, and I was thinking about this vertical run what do you think I'd be thinking? I don't like that. I mean, that is stupid. Like, look at the monthly. Yeah, the vertical moon train. When a vertical moon train hits previous resistance, what happens to a vertical moon train? It blows off. This is looking pretty ridiculous. If you're in it, cool. Obviously, you make your own decisions, but at the same time, damn, the vertical moon train of FedEx is right where it should be, finding some form of resistance. We're actually only down 0.06 pre-market here as well. Online buying, Joseph says, absolutely. Just out of interest, let's see what the old monkeys think of this one. So FedEx Corp, we have consensus estimates, because that's all we can go with right now, because so much of these fundamentals are bizarre. Wow. 282. Still an 11% upside on consensus. That's pretty wild. I would say a whole bunch of upgrades came in. If you want to check out upgrades as well, and we'll check out Nvidia, because I want to keep looking at Nvidia, Activision, a few other stocks today as well. But if we're looking at something like this, and you search FedEx in here in FinViz, great free resource for you to check out. You can always see all this information, obviously see things about institutional ownership, which is great to know. High institutional ownership is always important in a share. Insider transactions are relatively neutral, so no problems there. And we can also see the upgrade dates here. And this is not bad. I think this is really great for people to be able to get for free. How cool is that? So a few upgrades, $318 from a bankrupt company. No, $318. Might be proven wrong, but damn. I don't know. That's a bankrupt company. I'm not going with that one. Dollar and gold going up together. A rare breed, yeah, Jae Yong Park. Absolutely. That's because this non-farm result, they're looking into it. The boffins they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. VIX looks like quick 11 o'clock update, half an hour or 32 minutes before the open. Going to be exciting open now. 33.12 S&P. Yes. 11.315 Nasdaq. Okay. Got some work to go there, Nasdaq. We want to go down to the 11.2. VIX 32.60. So very, very cool. Overall, even the European markets have started falling off a little bit. Gold and silver holding relatively strong. Copper actually finding still a little bit of bullish momentum. But this, now that it broke through and closed, looking like it could go to 2.8 quite easily, as we said before. Get rid of a couple of these things we don't need. We'll have a look at our iron ore comparison before. And we will load up pre-markets now. All right, let's load up the pre-markets on the Webull chart over here. And not affiliated, by the way. And Tesla 4.52 down now, sitting at a 428. So we expect 420 to be some kind of bullish pressure for Tesla. There should be some buying there on the smaller time frames. I don't think it's really heavy sup either way or heavy resistance. AMD 84.86. I want to look at AMD with everyone. We have a support there that, if broken, I think could be disastrous for AMD holders. So we'll definitely check that out. And then overall, the rest. Nothing really else to say there. Square's an interesting one because Square's been very vertical. But overall, it's been holding incredibly well as well. Similar to kind of like an Nvidia. Anything up? Not much up. AstraZeneca was up 0.5 before. Barely anything up now in the 30 billion plus range in pre-market trade. Not that much up. Go to a couple of questions. Thoughts on CCL and NCLH. So CCL, if you're talking about just Coke in general, I always like, I'm not sure if you're talking about Coke in Australia there, Charlie. CCL is the code for Coke in Australia. But overall, my thoughts on Coke remain that it is a decent stock in high unemployment environments. So Coca-Cola is a decent stock in high unemployment environments. Why is that? It's like McDonald's. Unfortunately, they do well. Bad foods do well. Also, Coke is finally dumping a whole bunch of its crap brands. Consensus targets on Coke overall are fairly probably high. I think it's right on SUP right now. As you can see, 241. It's a fairly defensive into this kind of thing. So yeah, this is probably not the one I want to be looking at. 241. What am I talking about? So CCL is Carnival in America. CCL is Australian Coke. But I do want to look at Coca-Cola. I was thinking KO. What the hell? Yeah, there we go. As soon as I saw price, sorry guys, so much going on. I was thinking, what the hell kind of price is that? That was actually its support though, that stupid thing. That's twice it's got me. It's because we trade CCL in Australia. But yeah, Carnival, hate it. That's my answer straight away to Carnival. Hate the company. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like any of these cruise ships, and I hate airplanes. Why do I hate them? I don't like the risks associated with them. So yes, Coke is up 0.04 into the pre-market. Overall, right on SUP right now. Not a amazing kind of buy. What are you expecting? Well, you're not expecting a huge amount of return here. I think if you look at KO in terms of long term, consensus estimates are $54 on this one, so it's not that crazy. But yes, this is the right zone for it to be holding around $49. And I still am relatively bullish on this stock. Full disclosure, these are the kind of stocks that I have been positioning a little bit into. I mean, it's not bad because previous resistance, nice structure, nice formation, overall a good trend line coming off it as well. But yeah, don't buy the other one. The Coke is no good. I did not say that. Scalped CCL in June. Yeah, Jeremy, you can do that. You can absolutely trade it, but it's not one I look at high long-term portfolios. AMD is one that I do definitely look at a decent amount at the moment, though. So AMD has been very bullish. It double bottomed, came out. We've got news and news events coming out very soon for this. New chips and new graphics cards coming out. So overall, pretty decent bullish momentum here. This is a hype train sentiment. Remember, if we ever get underneath this zone now, the crazy structure, I'd almost set like a landmine alert if it ever comes down to 60. Because while it might not right now, if you set like a 12-month alert up, let's say you have a month alert going for 12 months or even 18 months, while it might seem crazy, if AMD ever gets down to the 60 price, the previous resistance structure is so incredibly good there. So incredibly good. Buzzblad says, got a bail. Man, Blads, you're missing the actual open, man. But good to see you here. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. So Nvidia still looking very, very strong. Down 3. I think this is a fireworks one as well. It's one of those ones I'd set a longer term alert up, and that would probably be under like a 477. Because I am interested in owning this kind of stock long term for AI purposes and other things. Obviously the hype, the new release of the graphics card, all of those things have got this stock up. But this stock, if it gets through and closes below a 50 exponential on a daily, especially if it gets under the 474, 475 structure, it's going to be very negative for this stock. So that's sometimes what I do. I just go in there and I just landmine things because I'm not always going to be in touch with exactly what Nvidia is doing. Domino's Pizza. Now that was a, we'll look at the New York Stock Exchange one. So this one here, yep, classic case of something that does, it initially got dumped and then it's moved up quite a lot higher. This is definitely one of those stocks where if you look at a monthly, well, firstly, it's gone wild for the last couple of years, but generally speaking, these kind of stocks do decently well in high unemployment environments. What I'm looking for a lot is good quality stock. If I'm not looking at tech sector, I'm often looking at anything to do with rebuilds is always a thing I'm looking at. Healthcare always beats inflation. You look at inflation charts, healthcare does like 300% more than cash. In terms of cash might do 40%, healthcare's 300% on inflation. It's always very, very, very good. And then you've got the unemployment plays, which you only play for the unemployment periods. It's just like a way of diversifying against risk. Thanks very much for the subscriptions there. Very, very much appreciate it. Great. They're not going away anytime soon, though, says Peter. Well, no, they're certainly not going away anytime soon, but that's one of the things. People will travel, people will go back on these carnival kind of cruise ships, but again, they're a level of risk that I'm not too interested in. Getting down here on the market, 33.16, testing these lows on the futures here. This is a 5-minute chart. We'll probably load up a 15-minute coming into the market open. We'll load up, we've got the 4-hour sitting here on the dollar index. The main reason is dollar index is a huge play here, and of course, a test underneath of the 33.30 is a big play for the SPX. Pavel, Rube80. Thanks very much, Pavel. Appreciate the support of the channel. Thanks very much, mate. Pa says S&P making lower highs and same lows. Yes, exactly. Very good point there, Pa. This is the type of thing we're looking for. As a TA, kind of analyst, we're looking for lower highs as much as possible. Lower high, lower high, lower high. All into this sub. What is that? Descending kind of triangle. The serious point, though, is what's the psychology of the market telling us? Well, it's telling us several times over we have a weakening market coming into a very nice level of support that in the futures trade has acted as buying pressure. So we're right there right now, and we're only 23 minutes off the open. Jae Young Park says short. Very good, mate. Yeah. Coming into a certain pressure point, that's for sure. Gary's from Austin, Texas. Very cool, Gary. The only reason I know where that place is so well is because of I used to watch wrestling, and I remember Stone Cold Steve Austin. Which probably shows my age a little bit there. Out of Austin, Texas. Yes. Price target on S&P 500. Well, I think, like we said, let's go back over it. Pre-market might as well. So S&P 500, we've got two things going on here. We've got the futures trade, which is obviously trading at 33, kind of, 16 right now. But if we go to the real market, and that's where we should always be, check this out. We've got this 33.30 zone, previous 33.20, 33.30 zone, previous resistance, previous support structure all the way through here. We close underneath those. What are we getting through? Let's go to a 4 hour and just show. We're getting through, if we close underneath those, a 20, a 50 exponential moving average, which did act as some resistance all the way through here. And on top of that, we're then got no market structure down until the 32.30 zone. There's just no market structure until that point. One sec. There we go. So we've got no market structure down to the 32.30, 3200 zone. So realistically, it's very critical that the market closes underneath here on a 4 hour. I think it opens up a huge amount of movement down to the 32, 34 kind of zone. Makes a lot of sense. Siddharth Mully says he was from Victoria, Texas. Well, either way, I know Texas, and I remember watching shows that were in Austin, Texas, and all sorts of places in Texas. All right, so we're putting pressure on here, 33.15, a lot of pressure. Dollar index going completely inverse to that. Check around the markets quickly. Gold, 1906. Not too much movement there. Euro should be moving down, of course, versus the US dollar as well. If we're looking at pre-markets, I think it's worthwhile checking out, of course, all the FANG stocks. Looking at on Google, 1452, still holding really right around where it should be finding sup. Every single test here coming into the next 20 minutes is right at the correct levels. Even the market is testing the perfect level coming into the market open. How's the VIX doing? So VIX overall, well, we would expect it to be spiking. Is it above that zone though? We did it. That's a good point. Have we seen VIX yet move above the 30 on the CBOE contract? 29.4. So we're still not above the 30 yet. 29.4 there on the VIX. Just a quick reminder as well, we are doing a giveaway of $500 over this month. All you need to do is just sign up to our mailing list. Obviously, that's what it is. And try to follow us on one of the socials. I'll chuck it in the room if you're interested in joining that. We'll be doing a live announcement of that on the US election date. We'll be doing a special stream for that one. Boren says, I love the streams. Thank you very much, mate. No worries. Make sure to hydrate. I like this one from Generation Recon. Dump it. I love that. That's a pretty funny meme. It'll blow your headphones off though when you listen to it. few different VIXs there, GM. Depends which one you're using. I'm using here the Volatility CFD, which is probably a bit of a mix of both of them. If you go to the CBOE one, it's going to be 29.16 there. VIXs depending on the time frame that you're using. So you can see here 29.16, and we're just talking about this 30. We haven't had a 4-hour 30 above this area. So it doesn't matter really which chart we're looking at. The key is we've got a 25 and we have a 29.97 30 zone. We're stuck within the ranges. We spike out of a range because remember pre-market's 29.16. The VIX is an aggressive beast. So we expect it to be and act that way. Very, very aggressive move up. Who won the last $500? Farad won it, Philip. So we've got in contact with Farad, and we'll be sending his money next week. So congratulations to Farad. Johnny says, somehow retail investors own 50% of the market from buying the dip. Susanna says, 2 dislikes, they don't know good stuff. They probably got me on the Coke thing, Susanna. That's the problem. You look at so much. It's actually a lot harder to do it live when you're obviously trying to read things. It's a bit of a talent, like, trying to figure that out. So hats off to all the streamers out there. Philip Moore says, Tom, did you cover Tesla trying to catch through looking now? Yeah, we did cover Tesla, but it's always a good one. Look, we've got 15 minutes. We're obviously going to 2 minutes before we're going to load up our 2 main indices and watch them coming in. We'll do a bunch of market moves, but we are really now waiting for the market to open. Talked about the 450. We talked about the 420 as well, acting as hopefully a buy sup straight away. And we'll go down to a 2 hour just to see that. So basically we have some key levels. We've got 420, 450, and then every $50. So basically 400. If you're a buyer, you need it to hold the 420, 400. It gets under 400. I'm sorry to tell you. I think that, with a stock like Tesla, let's have a look at historically what's happened the last 2 times. We'll draw a horizontal line here. Let's get that horizontal line up. Bring that down. $400. What has happened when it's broken through? Both times it's gone down $50. So you want the line to hold. Easy under 400. Bang. We got straight in. Obviously, there was a bit of bounce, but we got down to that 350 very easily. 350. If we did get under again, 350. It trades just too psychologically. I would expect, though, because of where the bounce happened, it to be slightly higher in price. There'll be a little bit of a pickup. There'll be a bit of anticipation dip buying. But at this stage, 420 seems like the area that we should see buying pressure. Siddharth says, Farad Hisham, talk to Mrs. Jessica first. I like that one, mate. Yeah, in response to, of course, the scammers that were in the chat before. Luckily, we hopefully banned those ones off. Thanks very much, Shane. Got to ban them all. Nice one, Siddharth. Look around the market. We'll refresh this in. So 33.07 on this particular contract. Now, I have a question all the time. Why is it that there's different markets on the S&Ps? They can be slightly different calculated depending on divs as well, and whether they're futures contract for 30 days or a mix or cash or whatever, or spot. But overall, remember, all of your analysis that you're doing on daily 4-hour closes should be done on SPX if you're using TradingView. SPX. I can't hammer it into you enough, and it's just because it took me a while to learn that I shouldn't be doing my TA analysis on US 500. Because if I do that, I get a bunch of fake out signals that happen in the Asian session. So this was a relatively little bearish candle here. This, of course, shooting star pin bar candle, but we're still looking at the smaller time frames. It's going to be very, very cool to jump into that 15-minute and watch this bit here. Watch this support. 15 minutes have been the fun getting into the market. Series of lower highs and the support at 33.15. Load up the Webull, take a look at pre-market. National Grid still on the move. That's been one of those stocks that has been doing relatively well recently. As people mentioned before, it's been very, very strong in some of these energy sectors. Tesla down 5.2% now, pre-market 424. Other notable, Square. We should probably load up Square. Square is notable. Bit of a drop off here in futures trade. If we go to the daily on Square, we can see that a lot of profit should have been taken. There's profit off previous resistance. Previous resistance will hit. Sometimes I wonder if the market knows there's going to be a bad bit of news. Maybe it knew about Trump. But overall, we hit that 170, 169. It's amazing how efficient it is at hitting a resistance before coming out with like a Trump bit of news or a bad, relatively bad non-farms, or at least a bit of a fake number there. And then, what do we get? We get that sell-off effect. So where to for Square? Well, Square's clearly got the next level of, market pressure is going to be down here at this 157. Probably a little bit lower because we want to hit the 20 moving average. So probably more around this 155. To work out the price and not just draw random lines, you want to go into a 4 hour, look at the closes, always look at the closes and draw your horizontal line over the most recent closes in this type of structure. Remember, all of these markets right now are creating base formations. Apple, Google, Amazon, every one of those, they're all coming back and testing what would be the dip kind of after the corrective move. So I do expect buying pressure at those levels. Kind of hope there's a bit more selling to go because that would be good for also the Australian market trades. But yes. Apple, very, very similar. They're Ricardo. Apple basically is trading at about a 111, 112 is where you should be looking at it. So we're now 12 minutes off from the open. I'm just going to get some water, and absolutely this is going to be a very, very exciting first hour. Remember, if you are trading today or you're waiting and seeing what happens today, the close is going to be the key. We will see whether there's risk off or risk on the weekend. One of the things that always happens is big fund managers, hedge traders, all those types of things, they make a lot of their decisions into the close, and that's when they also have to add and just quickly force through their positions. Maybe they have 100,000 outstanding on that stock. They have to get it that day. Got to pull the trigger, yeah? It's why, remember, logical sense in the markets is what you got to think about. Why is the end of the day closed? Well, firstly, it's the bulls and the bears fighting it out. They're finally locking it down into a daily candle. But on top of that, they've got to be mandated to buy those stocks or sell those stocks. Sometimes they've got to sell them. It doesn't matter what the price is. They've got to get rid of them. That's the mandate. When you understand that that's the mandate, definitely helps out in understanding why the close is so important. Berkshire, Head and Shoulders. All right, that's an interesting one. We'll look at Berkshire B quickly here. Go down to the weekly, go down to the daily. Here's a question for everybody 10 minutes into the open. We've got 695 viewers here. Thank you very much for everyone out there. What do you think is going to happen in the first hour? Are we going to see a down hour close or an open or a buy hour in the first hour of trade? So I'm just talking about the first hour candle. Buy or sell candle. What do you think? This is a Head and Shoulders potential formation, by the way. Left shoulder, head. You're looking like a chess player. Who said this? Lewis. Very, very good. Yeah, nice, man. This is exactly how you want to be thinking about the market. Is it Head and Shoulders now? No. But this is what you're thinking about. You're thinking about the structure where the market comes down, test this area, got a little bit of angle here. You've got your left shoulder, your right shoulder, and your head. And can anyone tell us in the room right now, why do we prefer this particular style right now? Why do we like, it's actually a pretty good, sweet chart if it did close below. And I'd be looking for a close below here, not close below the traditional trend line. There'll be a few people out there that will know it's because the right shoulder, guys. The right shoulder is smaller than the left shoulder. Remember, think of everything logically. If we have a Head and Shoulders and we have a slightly lower right shoulder, what's that telling us about intent of the market? The buying pressure is not as aggressive over here as it was over here. The market is getting interested in selling in, and they want to sell hard and quickly. They don't want to deal with getting the price. They're happy to get with slightly worse price and sell it off. Take the profit, get out. The right shoulder being smaller is always a huge benefit to your trade, and that's why you always want smaller right shoulder than the left shoulder. And remember, with head and shoulders as well, compression is good as well. A huge amount of tightly coiled price. You can look at compression right shoulders. Very sweet. Very sweet. Love compression right shoulders. But yeah, this could be one. It would also be getting through a 50. Let's have a look at where the expectation is for it. So expectation you're going to take, of course, from the shoulder up. We'll do that. We won't go the full way just because there's a whole bunch of, it's like a whole bunch of head up here. It's not a huge amount of movement. So its expectation is back down here to the 190. Yeah, it makes sense. I think there'll still be some buying pressure on the 200 just from the psychology standpoint, but there's not much market structure there. 190, what a sweet buy if it happened again. Oh yeah. I'll set an alert here. I like that. Nice. Seven minutes coming in. I will get that water right now, and I will be right back. Okay, welcome back. I'm here. Any movements? Let's get up our screeners ready to go. Get rid of that for the time being. Let's get some screeners up and get ready to go for these market opens. 5 minutes off the market open. So not long now until we see what is going to happen. I think the best thing probably to do is to put Nasdaq against. I think Nasdaq is always the better one for us to go with. So we're going to leave Nasdaq on. Well, actually have a look at the 15-minute chart here for Nasdaq. So we usually just kind of box structure up a couple of support resistances. I'm going always to the body here, you'll notice. Try to go to the body as much as possible unless we have clear wick lines. So we have 2 wicks here at 33.15, and then we've got 1 wick that broke through and closed. So you could say, yes, we'll go bodies on the futures, but I'm going to go with this particular level. Now, I only go with this because we have 2 wicks right on the same level. They're the most recent price action. We don't have any clear body kind of zones that are all across the same point. We've got a 33.20, a 33.17, and then a 33 kind of 16 zone. So there's no clearness on the bodies. So for me, I would draw my SUP line there. Some of the mental kind of way I look at things. So it's always the way I break it down. I would like that as my zone. try to keep it consistent. Generally though, I target the bodies. So we have a series of lower highs coming in here. Again, lower high, lower high, lower high. At this stage, market is basically trapped within a zone. We'll trap it up in only a few minutes properly, but that's what we're seeing coming into the market. S&P 500 relatively weak after that non-farm result. Unemployment 7.9 better than expected due to low participation rate, which is just more BS. And of course, jobs that were put on was not as healthy as was initially hoped. So we did see dollar index find some strength. It's all into what Wall Street wants to do now though. We have an 11.3 sup coming in here as the support on the futures for the Nasdaq. So side by side, that's what we're looking at. I'll give you a quick readout of some of the things going into the market open here. We have down AMD down 3, Square down 3.47, Tesla down. Tesla, the best sentiment stock and best daily percentage change stock, is down 5 now, sitting at, what is Tesla sitting at now? We are looking at a 423 handle there for Tesla. The big kind of interesting stocks. Let me just quickly change this to 500 billion plus. Get my my 500 billion. Just quickly loading all these up. Okay, so pretty much led by Nvidia and Tesla coming into the market. 2 minutes until we get in. Adobe also down a decent amount. So is PayPal, Facebook down a decent amount, Amazon. So really with the FANG stocks and those kind of things, we're seeing mostly 2% on almost all of them. And then some of the ones that have been bought up a little bit more heavily like PayPal and Nvidia are slightly higher. Thank you very much to all the subscribers out there that have subscribed in. Thank you very much for all the members as well. Appreciate it. Be loading up a whole bunch of different emojis that hopefully we can use in the room soon. Houston Vision says, got my snacks and coffee ready. It's going to be a entertaining 6 hours, expecting a massive bloodbath. Well, I definitely think we can expect some volatility in the first hour there, Houston Vision. That's what we're hoping for here on the channel, aren't we? Lord Backill says, just thinking about all the people on Wall Street Bets holding calls for today on basically every big growth stock. I thought Wall Street Bets was a giant put factory. I thought that's all Wall Street Bets talked about, was taking puts. All right, here we go. We're about to get started. 11:46. My God, I just realized I don't have my bell. Whoa, we've started a little bit early. The bell has been played. That's all right. There we go. We got the bell. Let's go. All right, guys, we're off to the races. The bell is on. Very exciting. There we go. And we are basically doing nothing in the first couple of seconds. We're opened exactly where the futures pretty much predicted, which can happen. Finding a little bit of buying here. Remember, it's usually at the first minute to 2 minutes that we see the market start to get a bit of an idea of what it wants to do. Ding, ding, ding. All right, so we're off. We've got our 15 minutes trapped at 33.15. Remember, 33.30 is the key SPX. We'll move over to the key SPX here now. Let's load up SPX since we're open. This is where we are. 15 minutes down here. Check out that from an hour perspective. We'll leave the Nasdaq on overall. So we've got here the 33.30 is the key kind of zone between that and the 20. Previous resistance, previous supports all the way through here as well. A little bit of a 10-point range where if you're a market bull, you need this to hold right now. We want this to hold right now. So will the Trump news, will the non-farm payroll, questionable, whatever the hell's going on there, result come through? We are finding at least a little bit of initial buying. Gold down to 1903. A few notables on the open. We'll just quickly go here to the open percentage changes. So Tesla is still holding a pretty deep down. It's holding 5.2% down. Most of the other stocks have pulled up about 0.3 to 0.4. So overall, the big stocks here are not moving too crazily. We'll quickly bring that on the screen. Amazon still down 1.8. Nvidia down 2, was down 3. So Tesla probably, it hit the 420 handle, didn't it? I think it hit the 420 handle. So we do expect all these levels to be those buy areas. It is on the key area for buying for the retail crowd. But everything can change in 15 minutes, as we know. We've done enough of these live sessions together now on the channel, and just in general viewing them, that the first half an hour of trade, especially first 15 minutes, can get pretty wild. Thanks very much to the subscribers out there as well. Thank you, Simon. Zoom is up. Well, if you're in Zoom, hopefully that's going well. So this is an important area. There's going to be some resistance here on the little 15-minute chart for the Nasdaq. Obviously, we have SPX just doing its thing around the 33.30. Nothing too crazy. Let's go to a few of the metals. We'll go to Google here as well. Google should have opened right on SUP. So Google opened at what probably seemed to be around 1456, which is right on support. Go down to the 4 hour, just show over on this one. Google is an interesting one. I think it's sold off a lot, maybe justified, but it's the more value of the FANG right now. And it's the one that moves the slowest in the recovery phase. 1460. So right here, we had the previous resistance, previous support, pretty key little zone there for Google. Right at the area where you expect the dip buying to come in. This is the same as Apple as well. If we look at Apple, that opened with a 113, I think, and now it's up a little bit. So that got right into the top of the range. 112.32. Previous kind of resistance was around the 112. So that's why it's buying up. So retail herd really buying the dip here. A lot of people buying the dip. I would say the first hour, though, is usually the retail herd. Anyone got some stocks that they want to talk about? Volume already out at 139 plus, says Philip. Zoom is flying. Let's have a look at Zoom. Not a stock that I'm a big fan of on this channel, purely just because it's pretty wild. So we had this boxed up from the other day. We talked about the 460 being really heavy kind of buying pressure because it was previous resistance. This stock now is up 2.58. Obviously, it's loving the news. It's loving Trump having the virus. Is Zoom. Pretty decent strength here. Can you review Tesla? Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. We should definitely look at Tesla. So Tesla there came off the 4. Yep, well, that's nice. Exactly as we thought. Right around that 420 in the open. And it found some support there. So it opens at a 417, 418 handle. Quickly finds buying pressure. It's just what we kind of expected. This is right where now you're thinking, okay, well, there's going to be a little bit of selling. If I was like a little scalping kind of demon and I was looking at the 427, 430 area, previous resistance, previous support, would I be thinking, maybe that's good enough for me. I just made $10. Bought my 420. Now selling, or not $10, probably that's $10 for the low, but it's about $7. Make my $7. So we're right on that point right now. Let's go back over to the other markets. Check out Berkshire as well. Probably this stock will still be relatively down, probably down 1%. Yeah, so down 0.8. So decent amount of buying in the first couple of minutes here. Still finding resistance here on that Nasdaq US 15, 1137.3 here. Now at 33.37 on the S&P. Going back up and testing the 50 from the bottom end side. So this is a 1 hour. We're testing that 50. Don't really take too much stock in a 50 on a 1 hour, but we are testing 20 on the 4 hour, and we go to the daily. We're slightly above the 50 overall. So at this point, we're in between the zones. We're slightly above the 50, locked in the two areas. The daily moving averages mean the most. This is right where you want to see selling pressure come back into the markets if you're looking for more bearish action. We do want to see it here. Mike Robinson says Tesla is down. Yeah, it's down, but not on the open, Mike. Microsoft is a buy, says Mike as well. So we'll check out Microsoft because it's been a bit of a lagger, So Microsoft, a lot of market structure coming through here, going pretty crazy with all the moves that are going on. But yes, it's all the same. They're all the same, these FANG stocks. They're all looking very, very similar in terms of the recent price action, not what happened before that, but the recent price action. They're all testing moving averages from the close above and break above, and they're all finding those dip level supports. So Microsoft 209, right on the 2 moving averages, and where you expect there to be some buying pressure. $33.40 now on the 20. We're still testing here on the 15 minutes for the US 100. Let's check a look at the Dow as well. So we'll load up the US 30 futures chart. Check that out. So Dow overall finding a bit of bullish pressure as well. Relatively weak recently, the Dow. Makes sense. It's really not the leader it once was, as we've talked about quite a lot on this channel. Nasdaq now bulling up. So we are seeing a dip buying experience here for the first 8 minutes of the open. Again, things can change quite a lot after this point though. Load back up that US 500. New high off the series of lower highs coming in. That's clearly a new high here, and we're going to close that very soon. A few people asking about NEO. We'll quickly load that up as well. NEO, another popular one. So NEO clearly broke high. Very strong 20 buy, isn't it? Wow. So many 20 buys here. Jesus. That's very, very cool buying a 20. We've talked about this a lot in the channel though as well. It really does respect, it looks like, the pullback as well. We look at this, previous resistance, closed high, came back, pulled back, found support. Makes sense why we're buying dips here. Pretty much every single thing in the market today came in right on the support levels. And that's why we're seeing such a good buying experience in the first couple of minutes here. Doesn't mean it will hold, but certainly is a good buying experience. Zalev says NEO love. Obviously you are a fan of NEO. I'm sure you're in it. DXY. So that's the US dollar. Let's go down to the 2-hour chart. That'll be coming under a little bit of pressure into such a strong US Open. Kind of all over the place with the DXY at the moment. So it's holding the zone it needs to. Remember, DXY underneath the 93.50 is super bearish for this. We need it for dollar bulls. We need it to get through these 2 moving averages. We're stuck in like a long leg doji 4-hour mode. We need it above the 94 again. Close above that 93.90 zone plus. Above these bodies, very important. We need to get through those 2 moving averages and back into using the moving averages as dynamic support. That's going to be a big key thing that we want to see constantly going on. Big shout out, of course, to the community out there. 765. I wonder if we can do it today. Can we beat an 800? I don't think so, but if we could, that'd be awesome. 810, I think, is our biggest stream ever. So a lot of people supporting the channel. Appreciate that a lot. Go over to the questions. What questions we got here? What's my MA setup, says Hemavol. Yep, this is a 50 exponential moving average blue line, 20 exponential moving average red line, and a 200 simple moving average for the green line. Very, very, very good setup. VIX hitting the 30. So let's have a look at the VIX. We did have that trap between the kind of 30 on this zone. It came in right in. Oh, it was just tapping it, wasn't it? It was tapping that zone just before, and then it came back off. So we had this pretty much trap between the 25. So talked about the 25 a lot. This is the CBOE contract, basically, if you're wondering which one it is. And then the 30. And we were hoping to see a 30 close above, or at least it's spiked through there again. So it's rejecting at the moment. Fear is coming out of the market a little bit. Quickly refresh maybe a Reuters page or something like that as well. I'll have a quick look at this news feed coming into the market open. Let me just quickly load that up on my other screen as well. And I'll load up the futures changes. Nothing going on in this feed anyway. Quick check of the crypto market coming into the open. Pretty much all over the place. Still down across the board. Futures market around the world. We've got mostly pretty similar. Still have a big slump in crude. In fact, crude is getting worse, everyone. Crude is about to make new lows. We should definitely check that out. Wow, what's that doing to Exxon? What is that doing to Exxon? That is a wild move on crude. We're about to go under the 36 handle. Markets look like they're really pressuring now with 33.50. So quite a lot of buying. We're only 12 minutes into market open and the dip buying experience is good. I think that's a lot to do with human psychology as well. We did a quick poll before and everyone was thinking sell into the open. So obviously Wall Street's going to do the opposite potentially. But then again, I still say the first hour doesn't mean that much to overall sentiment. It's the close today that matters the most. Shane, Tom's Coffee Fund. Thanks very much, Shane. Appreciate it. Australian $10 from Shane. Man, you've been supporting the coffee habit way too much, dude. I do appreciate it though. Crude's moving up now, is it? Oh, it actually closed below though. So this is UK oil here. We have a clear 39.50 and oh, we're right in that zone, guys. We didn't look at crude pre-market because we were too busy with some of the stocks, but yeah, it's coming back right back to that test. Pretty far away from the 20 now, but this is a zone where you would expect crude to generally be selling off. You can see that sup. Strong sup. Let's have a look at US oil, WTI. A little bit different in terms of the pattern here. I often use UK oil a lot more, or Brent kind of contract a little bit more for my analysis. So it is finding some form of support. I'm going to check that UK oil out a little bit later as well. It's right at that level which you expect weakness. It's already shorted twice off that zone and failed to do so. Okay, so where do we think the resistances are in these markets now? Let's have a look around, do a bit of a dive into these markets from a futures trading support resistance line perspective, because we are seeing strong buying pressure. We've obviously already gone almost the distance of this point as well. If we take that horizontal line, we think about this as the small little resistance channel that we had on the US 100. Well, that only is predicting pretty much back into up here, maybe this 11,450 zone. So do we find some resistance just because it's completed? From a S&P standpoint, this should be really the area it finds resistance. Previous sup the other day, and of course, then some resistance there. Let's load up the SPX though, see if there's any real pressure there. 33.50. This is the area, guys. This is where we want to see it sell off. 33.50. Remember, use your real SPX markets whenever possible, everybody, for your support resistance as much as possible. It's the only thing the real boys like that, and real boys and girls that trade the big money care about. I know I don't care about the futures. David Moore, welcome to the trading community, mate. Thank you very much. Welcome to the trading community. You can now use all those emojis. We'll definitely set up a whole bunch of other ones in the next couple of weeks. We are doing a massive lead up into, of course, also the US election. Make sure you do support the channel. Come along for the run. We'll be doing, it's probably a good time. We're going to give a $500 giveaway on the election day. If you're interested in entering into that, it's completely free. All you need to do is just jump over to fxevolution.com. Obviously, just jump on, get the free trading pattern cheat sheet. And then if you follow us on one of the socials, that'd be great. We'll do the draw live on the election day. So this is right where we should see further selling pressure. I think the Nasdaq has a little bit more in it. Possibly it could go up and the rest of the market just kind of hovers in this zone. Bitcoin moving up. Yep, well, if dollar's dropping, Rob, we're going to be seeing Bitcoin moving up. Copper still looking sick, Mike says. We should look at that absolutely into trade here. Look at copper, still looking really sick. So if you're new to the channel, we look at copper quite a lot for sentiment over the next coming week. Usually copper gives us a very good indicator on market health or weakness overall. What are you guys looking at? Where's my copper weakness? You sure copper's going down? Copper's going right to the point where we expect it to find resistance. I wouldn't be surprised at all for copper to come to the 2.95 and then find where it was previous support as resistance. If this is correct and this is a live chart, which it should be, then yeah, let's look at that day. So yesterday copper got absolutely melted and it's coming back up to the 50. This makes perfect sense from a TA perspective. We need to go and test the logical kind of steps. We get back into the 50 exponential moving average and then we find resistance. If you're looking at shorts, I mean, that's always the place. Resistance, resistance, support, support, support. It comes back and tests it. That's the way swing-based trading works. Brian Johnson with the $9.99. Thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate that, mate. Thank you, Brian. That's a few coffees as well, if that's good old American dollars. It's worth a lot more than Australian bucks, that's for sure. Thank you very much there. Bruce Banner, good to see you here. Cheers, sorry I'm late to the Trump news. Had me crazy reading. Could you look at NCLH? I'm not even sure what that is. I'll write it down, mate. We'll see if we can get around to it. So let's do a quick broad market check and then we'll go over. But we should be seeing here where we find some kind of resistance in this market. So yep, there we go. We got the Nasdaq going to that little bit. Should have completed then if we care about this little 15 minute that much. We've closed the 15 minute out now as well. So decent amount of buying pressure coming back in. Obviously the market is not phased about the Trump news right now. Or at least it doesn't seem like it is in the first hour. So this is really where we got that completion of the little channel on the 15 minute. A few traders probably getting out here just because it's got about 80% of what they expect. Whenever you're trading and you're scalping, when you see a pattern, don't usually take 100% of what you expect. Take around 70 to 80%. Why do we want to take less? Because that enables us to get out more often at the correct price. We take the lead though from the SPX. So the SPX is right on that point where previous support should act as resistance. This is what we're looking for and definitely what we're paying attention to. Remember, bring those questions, keep them coming in, and we'll answer as many as we can. Jemin says, I'm being a sissy and staying out of the kangaroo market for the day. Yep, we certainly are seeing the kangaroo market. I'm happy with closing out my positions for the weekend. Well, that's definitely a risk management technique for sure. Nicola up the meme. Oh man, Nicola is a stock. We've been talking about that one for quite a while, how it was fraudulent for a long time. Unfortunately, quite a few people got stuck from that. Paul Pham, hey Tom, can you look at Walmart? Yeah, that's good. We can definitely look at that one. Nice big stock. Interested to know your thoughts about the stock during the crisis versus the GFC where they did well. So yeah, Walmart, it's an interesting business because they're obviously a monster company and they should technically do well in all of these kind of events. They do quite well in recessions generally because people go and buy little weird stuff from Walmart. The thing is, we're seeing a massive fundamental shift in the way that we shop, the way that we do things. You know, technically now the Walmart is Amazon, isn't it? So I think that Walmart is pretty expensive. Oops. And we should see further downside action here. All right, let's have a look at the daily. So here's a Walmart daily. So what we're talking about here is what has Walmart done over the years. So here's kind of the trajectory. All the way through, didn't do that well. During the GFC, it obviously fell off. But look at this. It went from like a $60 down to like a 50. It wasn't that terrible. Then it had that kind of scare on it, and now it's gone full vertical, super far away from the monthly. We go to the weekly as well. We're still pretty far away from the weekly 20. I want to see it come back and test this zone. I want to see back to 131s. It may seem like that can't be possible, But for me, Walmart is just a very aggressive stock. It's obviously going to do well still throughout the years, but I don't think it's going to do as well as people expect. So I'm wanting to get it back to the mean reversion, back to the 20 on the weekly, 131, previous resistance, previous support. That would be like kind of the target there. It's a good zone around this kind of area. Lots of beautiful resistance structure. And we never hit it. We kind of bounced off this first one. We didn't hit it. So I'm still thinking Walmart, even if the market goes up overall, could come back down. So there we go. We got the shorting there on the S&P right off that zone. It's good to watch the SPX, eh? I like that. We did definitely take a look at NEO before Leo. We took a big look at NEO. So it should come down, test that previous breakout zone and find SUP. That's all we were talking about there. We will certainly look at a whole bunch of other things as well. So we were looking at that kind of 20-ish zone being a very good psychological with previous market structure after the close break. I don't particularly like this other than I just say the 20 moving average has just been historically amazing. That mean revert, look at that. It's so beautiful. When you see that, you can't go against it, you know. The 20, buy the 20. That's what they're kind of saying. Disney. Are we seeing a 120? Actually, we should probably have. Did I get my special price this morning? No, I didn't. Disappointed, guys. So yeah, Disney still kind of bouncing a little bit down. You know, everyone knows probably by now I don't mind the old Disney. So still got this super strong market structure from previous highs all the way from 15 into 17 to 18. Then they did that whole bunch of things with their new streaming service. Then they failed. And look, this is a very hard hit company. They got problems all over the place. But I'm still looking at that 120 as a SUP level here. So still looking at that overall. Now I'm interested more in this market rejecting that zone though. So we got that 70-80% of the channel. We got that SPX 3350 and then we're finding a bit of resistance. So we'll jump into the SPX now, but we'll go to the US 500 just because we had some previous Asia into European session market structure. And we are seeing some weakness here. Go to the 5 minute, I think. Do we even have a 5 minute close down? So here's the 5 minute close. We'll watch this one out. We've got 40 seconds to go here on the 5 minute close. Can we close a new low here on the 5 minute and find further weakness? We now expect on the 5 minute, if it does close below, for it to probably travel down to the 33.36. We don't often get on these time frames, but it looks like today it's calling for it for the first couple of minutes. Yeah, Leo, I did definitely look at NEO before, didn't I? Fifth Avenue Shopper, Disney has channel support at 115. There's a whole bunch of SUP all the way through there. Fifth Avenue, there's crazy amounts of levels through Disney. VIX spiking up, is that correct? We're seeing a bit of VIX move? Not really. So VIX we need above 30. 30 to get real action today. VIX here is not going to get it done. Onto the futures just quickly. Overall, this is a little bit delayed. Nothing too much. We'll go quickly home. Let's click on our around the markets heat map. So 2% down on Apple. Most of the FANG stocks, of course, still leading what's going on today. Boeing down 163 now, 2.77. These are a little bit delayed. I understand that. But still, it's a good little bit of idea on which areas are going to be breaking down. If you don't already use finviz.com, definitely check finviz.com out and make sure that you consider using the heat map, using some of the tools. I'm not affiliated with them. I just think it's a great free tool. Okay, here we go. We got the close. So do we now come back and test 33.36? I hate 5 minute charts, but what are we doing? We got to sit here right now. We're almost in the half an hour of the market open. The first hour is always that point that we get to. Oh, Nitesh, I would not think that oil is a great level right now for buying. It's right on that kind of zone that you expect it now to find further weakness, mate. But you've obviously got to make your own decisions there. Thank you very much for Pavel for answering the question. Yes, we use 20 exponential, 50 exponential, and 200 simple moving averages. 33.35. Can we get down? We just had the Nasdaq actually shorting decently heavy into previous subs, so that you can see it instantly bounces off that. If you're a crazy scalper on the 1 minute charts, this is why you use the bigger charts, trap your price, and then you can get in. But again, it's not something that I think is good over the long term. You'll just get stressed out of your mind. No one wants to be stressed out of their mind scalping all the time. I know I used to do that. Look at that SP though. I want this down. Come on. Get down to 33.36 for us. Opinions on the Nasdaq going down. Oh yeah, so that's my opinions there. Ben, this is a good question from Ben Whaley. Interesting plays with vaccine companies and corona testing companies coming into play today. So yeah, there's quite a lot of decent bit of, probably moves on those. I think there'll be moves, obviously, like the debate. The debate had a decent amount of moves the next days. EMAs and everything is set to close. Yeah, absolutely. Close. So around at some of the metals, probably worthwhile checking out them as well. Checking out dollar index. So dollar index still coming under a little bit of pressure here. Still trading within that area. We need it above 94 for dollar index. I want to go to euro. Euro's got amazing support on it, doesn't it? This is the euro US dollar. What a great level. It's 1170. For anyone that's in the Discord community, yeah, this interesting zone around here. 00, found sup a few times. Starting to find a little bit of weakness here. Very interesting zone there, the 110, and probably want to look at a 4 hour, I'd say. Yeah. 2 EMAs as well. Has copper hit the 2.95 yet? Was going pretty bullish before. Still in the highs here. Right around that zone that you expect selling pressure to come in. Which could be really where the American market finds it as well. We'll definitely be watching the next 15 minutes, seeing what's going on. Zoom up 5, says Vitalik. Zoom's crazy stock, guys. Sentiment. Jonathan Doe, so you're talking about a different stock here. Tom, last time when the oil got crushed, the tanker companies spiked. They got paid huge to sit open water, waiting for oil prices to rise again. DHT is cheap right now and has huge dividend too. Yeah, it's definitely a play that you can do, man. Dano, good to see you in here, Dano. Tell you what, man, here you go. You can be modded, Dano, because you used your real name. There you go, mate. Yeah, that's certainly a method you can use. I don't mind it, Jonathan. I'm not really probably an expert on that field, but I don't mind your concepts. Thinking outside the box is always the way to think of things. The problem is you got to be often first to it. So market's still moving relatively slowly here. We'll load up that yesterday's kind of thing. We'll just quickly talk about this fear greed index as well. Load up the data on that for the last 24 hours. So overall, the stock price breadth is a little bit higher than, a little bit better than we kind of expected. The things that I look at in all of these, this is just the CNN one. It doesn't matter. It's just data at the end of the day. But, these things are what they put into their index. I think it's a good free resource. You can check out Fear and Greed Index. I think it's good because it just gives you a little bit of easy to read, easy to digest information. Obviously, put-call ratios aren't crazy right now, which is important if you're looking at bearish side. Stock price strength is always a big thing as well. How many hitting 52? But in this case, we don't expect many to be hitting 52 weeks highs. And you want to look at things like breadth as well. That's an important one. And our oscillator is getting down. So oscillator is actually moving down further, even though the market's not really doing so. It's probably a little bit lagging here. Remember, if the oscillator gets under 20, usually looking at extreme buy zones in dip experiences. That's why we watch this so much. Extreme buy zones. Whenever it gets down here and you're getting a price action dip buy, it's pretty good. Just give you an example of things around the world right now. If we look at the ASX 200 or the FTSE, actually let's look at the FTSE. So I haven't even really looked at the UK 100 today, but if we look at this market and we just treat the other markets around the world on how sick they really are. Oh, this is a useless one, but let's get a better FTSE. We use the OANDA data. You can see how sick a lot of these markets are around the world. This is the recovery of the UK market. Too much oil, too much resources, too much of those things. Just got to a 61.8 fib and sold off. Look at the key critical zones here. You know, there are other things to short out there other than the American market as well if you're looking at shorts. There's clearly a very heavy level of support buy though here. But if it gets through series of lower highs as well, boy oh boy, the FTSE's in for some trouble. Expect at least down, you know, probably around 150 points down to the 56.42, 56.50 zone. Back over to the markets, still trading around that 33 kind of 50. We didn't quite get down enough. So the bullish intention seems here for the first half an hour, which is not as exciting as we'd hoped, eh? Gareth, what was the thing you wanted looking at? Just let me know. Market continues to remain fairly bullish. Next zone for it, 33.65 by futures anyway. Somewhere in this 33.65. Yeah, it would be bullish. Unexpected visit says, do we close the first hour above the 33.50? Be pretty bullish. Yep, I agree. Look, we knew this was probably going to be short-lived, but you obviously can always hope for more than that. Completing 33.65 now would be where you'd hope it to go to. And then after that, you know, remember the 34.20, 3400 zones are super critical to the market longer term. We're super optimistic on the market here on the channel. We think the market can do another 8% on top of it over the next 12 months easily. But the problem is it must break 3400, 3420 zone and close above over the long term. I don't think this is the end for it though. There's still a lot of kangaroo volatility that can go into these markets coming into the election. Remember, the first hour is the trap hour. It lulls you into the false sense of security and then does bad things to you. Cameron says, US market is crazy. President in his 70s has a deadly disease just before an election and it may end up green today. Bubble, bubble. Here's a good one. Rex, good point. I reckon I could poll the room actually on this Rex every time and know that it's probably going to do the other thing. This is why you follow the price action. Remember, we knew that there were supports hitting all the way through the price action at the beginning. So Rex says, serious question. Why is the market always doing the opposite of expectations? To make money, man. That's the real answer there. Making cash. Basically, if the market does the thing that everyone in the retail community, remember the retail community expects, then there's not enough money to be made in the market. If it does the opposite of what common sense may initially think, then they make money. So the idea is to usually go against go against what most people's expectations are. Here's one from David. He says, 35 years in futures taught me anything can happen, and when it does, it usually is against you. Key to success is risk management. So David, with 35 years experience here, says key to success is risk management. I 100% agree with you. And also following trend. Not even necessarily following like price action structure or anything. Just follow trend. That's pretty much it. Trend on indices is overall up. So if you hold quality and you have risk management, then you do all right. What do I think about Apple in the next couple of weeks? Well, Apple has a tendency to run into news events. Obviously, we have announcement of... When is the announcement for the new iPhone? Must be coming up pretty soon. Check out our Mac rumors quickly. See what's going on with the new iPhone here. They actually got their... I don't even know what date it is. This is a bit useless. Good website, though, if you want to know more about Apple products. Someone else will tell me. 13th, is it? There we go. 13th of October. 33.64 next resistance, says the Len boy. Yeah. Yep, it is a lot higher, the disease, of course, in older people. Yeah, that's true. All right, guys. Well, I think I might have to wrap it up here. We're not seeing the fireworks we thought we were. Basically, we're going to see a bit of buying pressure. Usually what happens is after the first hour, then we start to see the market get a little bit more interesting. And by that time, it's like 1 o'clock, 1:30. So what I always suggest to everybody out there is set your alerts, follow the price action, recognize that if a market is opening on supports, it generally holds those supports, at least for the first initial bit in the morning, because it's opening right on the levels that you hope it to. Now, that doesn't mean that the rest of the market, the rest of the day, it'll be like that. But with trading, often I've found that to be very, very good zone, because the futures have already bought it into the key areas. When it comes to what you do in the future, though, don't put all your time into the charts. Set alerts, walk away from the charts, and make sure you just find your critical zones and make them text alerts. You know, TradingView has that. Text alerts are super good. You know, it's a game changer, guys. It's really, really good. So look, I hope everyone enjoyed the streams. Thank you so much for supporting us. Thanks so much to the community for coming out. We got 700. Quick reminder, we'll be giving away $500 as well over the next month as a lead up into the election. And it's going to be awesome. Going to do a massive election stream. Definitely consider subscribing to the channel if that interests you. And overall, look, you know, if you're a bull today, pays off. But we hit just all those first sups on almost every stock. I want to look at Google because I quite like that zone before. Let's see if it's actually doing any good. I'm sure now, being Tesla, it's probably green. But yeah, Google overall. Let's have a quick look here at Google. Okay, so down 0.7 now. So it's basically up about 2%. Nice. Cool with that. Thanks very much. Thank you, Sand$77 for the $4 as well. We'll leave you with the opening / now closing music. And we'll see you in another stream. Monday, live opening bell. Let's see if we get selling into the weekend, guys. Hopefully. See you soon.